Hello, everyone.
Hey, Tip.
What's going on, everyone? So it's recording. We're gonna give people like 5 minutes to get in on here, okay? How's everyone doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good, good. We're gonna give everyone 5 minutes, so get a little something to drink or all that, because we're gonna be in here for the long haul. Hey, Nick, I went to grammar school with Nick, man. Look at all that white in your beard, man.
And you the one to talk.
Oh, hey.
Chip, I got food coming in about a
Yeah, we all do. I got two. So how you doing? You look good, James.
I might disappear. I'm trying, man. Trying to be like you, bro.
Oh man, come on, man. You got that podcast going. Make sure Make sure everyone.
Yet.
Nancy, what's up? Make sure everyone puts their their email and their any projects they're working on, like your podcast, so I can do a big send out. We're gonna get like another 5 minutes. Let people on. People, please give people the tag on to get in this thing. I'm gonna put it on my what's it called? So give me a second.
I gave it a couple of places.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, I do have to jump off for a 7 o'clock.
Okay,
meeting.
just people come in and you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, peace. I'm working, but I'm working for another hour, but still, hi, Chip, please.
Hold on, I'm looking for the thing. Hold on.
You can't see me. Let me turn on my camera really quick.
Yes, we like people to see people, so we won't believe you're a bot or you're from like some organization.
I'm Miss Asha. I will never be a bot. Uncle Chip.
Is that Asha?
You know it's Asha. It's one.
Oh, Jesus. I heard that voice. I was like, oh my God.
You already know. All right.
Don't start. I'm sipping on my stomach. Don't do it.
All right, no, because I'm at work, but I'll only turn on my camera really quick. Getting rough and stuff with my afro.
I'm sending this out, and I got like.
I'm gonna talk about you, Jonathan. Didn't you do the video, bro?
Yes, I did.
I can't.
Dope.
Yes, I did, dog.
I looked at that video. I was like, oh my God, I was as big as a house.
Oh my goodness.
617 kids.
Really?
617 kids.
Yeah.
I miss me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm old school. Yo, listen to me. Whatever. You do a podcast too, though. I hear.
It's not a podcast. It's Facebook Live right now, and I'm moving into some stuff.
There's nothing bad. Yeah, listen to me. They have Mixed Clouds doing a streaming live situation. I don't know if you're doing music or what are you interviews or whatever.
I can sidebar with you, man. I'll put the chipset to put our email. So
yeah, definitely. I do Flavor 99, and I got my boy Pizzo. Pizzo just did an interview with Master Ace yesterday.
I had Ayanna today, man. It was the most hits I ever got. I'm sitting there like Ayanna Presley.
Oh, Ayanna Presley? Oh,
yeah, and it was interesting.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to connect with her in regards to some things,
She's doing it.
Yeah. So are you taking the streaming on to another platform or anything?
I've been assertively encouraged by a few people to, even when we come out of the pandemic, to keep it up. I don't know if I'm gonna still do it every day, but
I mean, you know what? Listen to me. If you sidebar, talk to me, man. You know
absolutely.
What? I've ran internet things. As I said, I got flavor99.com, all that other stuff. So
definitely,
it's a tough situation. It ain't easy all the time.
Daily, it's like, and I got like 24 hours notice.
Okay.
No, 48 hours notice. I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Chip, are you going live or just recording?
He's recording.
I think it's recording.
Oh, it's
right,
definitely recording.
But I'm asking.
Actually, Chip, I don't know what Chip is, because someone wanted a video of the situation also. They said, what, they're not going to be able to do it because they got another meeting.
Yeah, but I think at this time, we be just being mindful of our privacy. And 10 years ago, the electronic footprints weren't what they were. for the same reason, being mindful of that, there are people who move in the background and we prefer to stay there, the policymakers. So 10 years ago, the electronic footprints, you deal in media, were not the same. So if that someone isn't present online, and that someone, I would say, just consider having that filter through Chip and not passing off, different people's information. Because people are asking, we've always had to deal with infiltration or cannibalistic infiltration, as I call it, from the inside out, and that's all groups. So just being that this in a way is a sacred space for many of us.
Yeah, well, as I understand it, Chip had, because he asked me to invite as many people as possible. I did it actually. When I did my podcast, I actually gave the information, online.
That's excellent.
That's an open meeting. This is an open meeting, so it's it's not.
I'm just asking where you're going live. It's just staying on Zoom, right? You just recording.
Staying on Zoom, but it is recording right now.
Right.
Yeah, because you know what? There was someone who said they won't be able to make the meeting, but they said that they would, if you have like a recording of it and all that other stuff, so they can review it. She was a community captain.
That's what I meant.
I mean, it's Helena Jones.
So yeah, just to let everyone know, this will be shared and this is a recording. And I just want to say it's so good to see all you beautiful faces of many people across my life over the last 40 to 50 years. It's really good to see that.
It ain't been that long, Jesus.
It has.
We are
40?
old school, my peoples, all right?
But I got people joining in from Nigeria.
I'm 25, so.
James, that's right, and I'm 82, so you would be 25. With the Pinot glass, I can't.
So, in order to get this forward, we have an hour and a half. I bet we'll stay a little longer. I bet I'll stay on a little longer for other people just to catch in, because I know people are running in and running out. Can people just go through? I think we have 20 right now. I'm expecting another 20 later. But can people just say your name and where you're hailing from? What part of the city? You can be Boston, some people in Atlanta, some people in Minneapolis. We have lots of people coming on from different areas. So just not to do anything too long, because I don't want this to be 20 minutes of introductions. Just people just give like a good 10 seconds of hi, how are you? And how are you just in general right now? Just state of mind. All right, so we'll just start. I'll go first. George Chip Greenwich. I'm in Atlanta. I'll be in Boston tomorrow for a week and a little bit more. It's a great time, and I'm really glad of what I'm very proud of the young people out here. That's all I'm going to say is my first statement. So people just jump right in and just give us a quick statement like that and go for it. And just where you're from. Anyone, go for it.
My name is John Jackson. They call me DJ John Jack. I'm hailing from Boston, Massachusetts, Hyde Park area. And thank you very much for the opportunity to
go for it.
James Hills, Boston.
Go ahead.
Kalu, this is Kalu Gomo. I'm here in Dallas, Texas at the moment. And I'm really glad and thankful for Chip. I've known Chip for over 20 years. He was one of my mentors when I was in high school coming out of, he actually influenced me a lot and encouraged me to go to a black college, Howard University.
That's too long.
And a lot of people don't know, when I was having difficulties, I grew up in Boston and Roxbury. I also grew up in Lexington. So I had a lot of issues, with, the dynamics of the town and that situation out there. I was in Metco from first grade, so I was a product of busing and affirmative action-esque kind of program. So, I'm familiar with this, and, now we're back at it again. So, I want to pay it forward and lend whatever resources I can. I spent a lot of time in Nigeria. I have one of my brothers from Nigeria on the line too, Mr. Kenneth Gayado, which is a big pleasure. And he can give you some more insights on what's happening from an African perspective and how we can all, bridge the gap.
Thank you. Good job. 15 seconds, everybody. Go.
All right, this is Asha Khalida. Chip bought me my first Alanis Morissette album, and When Strawberries, and he continued that support and love from Black men that I continue to push, and he is the standard and not the stereotype of our men, and I continue to push that narrative not only to the women, the children, but to other Black men. And I'm a nation builder, haven't stopped doing that, and I prefer to do that in any way possible in support of structures, sustainable structures for our forward mobility, and all power to the people. That's it. Bye.
Thank you. Next, fast, go for it.
This is Ralph. I've known Chip for forever. I'm originally from Boston, but I live in Atlanta now.
Go for it.
That's it.
Yes, this is Sean George. I'm from Boston. I've known Chip, since a very long time, since college, Morehouse. Let me say also that I stutter as well, so it made a little while for the words out as well.
I'm just going to jump in. This is Nancy Rachel Rousseau, and I guess hailing now from Stoughton, Massachusetts instead of Boston.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm just, in general, feeling a little overwhelmed.
Good.
Hi, this is Caroline Hunter.
Hey.
I am coming to you right now from Oak Bluffs, Massachusetts.
Hey, fam squad.
How y'all doing? How's everybody? I see some faces I haven't seen in a long time. My niece Greenwich, your pictures are over there in the library.
Hi, Miss Hunter.
Hey, sweetheart. I donated my archival stuff to the library. So BSU, National Black College Alliance, a lot of student government work. I gave about 15 to 20 cartons of material, including some yearbooks and some prom memorabilia. So when you're ready to do your reunion, you may have a repository of at least some of the things you did and accomplished when you were in high school. So good to see everybody. Chip, thanks for the gathering.
Oh, Miss Hunter, thank you. And I just want to let everyone know is that I really credit Miss Hunter for awakening my community service and activism when I was a sophomore in high school. Just quickly, when she was at the Ringe Latin, they didn't have HBCUs available. So she brought all her materials and sat there and gave the information to all the students because they weren't able to get up there. And from that day and knowing that, been involved with her at the BSU has been a lifelong mentor. And I appreciate your love and support, and also being you and Charles Ogletree being our first advisors to the National Black College Alliance when I did start it in 1999. Thank you so much, Ms. Hunter.
My pleasure to serve. You know that.
Yeah. Sure, this is Nick Sparrow.
Hello.
I haven't seen you in 35 years or so, but thanks for your work as well when I was a kid. So I've known Chip for a long time. And we grew up in the same
speak up.
I'm sorry. We live in the same, Chip and I grew up in the same neighborhood. And thanks, Miss Hunter, for being amazing as you were in high school for all of us there at Ringe Latin. I live up in Lowell, which is north of Boston, and I'm a chef. And I have 3 beautiful teenage kids, and I'm raising them to be activists. And I really want to be part of this because this is a great idea. Thanks, Chip, for pulling it together.
Thank you. And I grew up on your dad's pizza in the truck. Never know. So that extra roll in my stomach is his father's fault.
That's my fault too. Yeah. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. This is Rhonda Green. How are you? Hope everyone's doing well today. Thanks for having me, Chip. I've known Chip, I don't know, probably as long as I've known myself, from Cambridge. I too have to give kudos to Miss Hunter. If it wasn't for her, oh my, just thank you. And hopefully we can continue to just press forward with everything that you've laid before us. Again, so I'm just happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kenneth. I'm calling from Nigeria. I was invited here by Kalu. I'm very excited to be part of this elite group of discussants here and to get some more education on the situation, on the sorry situation going on in the United States. I am willing to give a little bit of an African perspective if called upon. Thank you.
Please do.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tia Lights from Boston. I've known Chip since I was 18. I'm 36.
Hey,
He's
Dr.
my
Tia
mentor.
Lights. Dr. Tia Lights.
Chip, I am a doctor. My doctoral practice is continuous research on culture responsive school leadership practice. I just am all about youth and empowering them through their activism and making sure that the right people are placed in front of them within schools, all styles of schools. Thank you.
And Tia was on the college tour with me back in when we decided to start the College Alliance. It was 20-something years ago.
And proud HBCU graduate.
Yeah. And I do have those pictures with you with the braids, so I will put those up. All right, don't kill me. Also, Tia just came out with a book. Am I right? Today or last week?
Yesterday.
Can you put the post in there? Can you put in there your book and where
Chip, chat is off. It's off. Can you turn it on?
Oh, it is. It's on.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
Only
people
you
trying to
can
put
see
in
it.
there.
Yes, thank you. It's about my practice of culture responsive school leadership and what that looks like. So thank you.
Please put it in there. Please put your email in also inside the chat, everybody. Okay.
Could we get the title, Dr. Light? Give us the title. Cambridge needs you, honey.
Oh, I need them too. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Please do. I had a school committee person just try to ask me that question, and I told her, I know there's a measure. Know there's someone who knows about this, so thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go. We're at 6:20. Let's get all these introductions so people know who's on the line. And if
Hi, Chip.
and please, if you can put we'd love to see your beautiful face, people. I see Sean George and his beard, and I see Toronto and his beard. So I just cut mine off. But please, we'd love to see your face.
Hi, Chip. Thank you for facilitating. This is my niece, Greenwich. I am privileged to have Chip as a family member. And I come tonight with a calm heart after being previously very angry over the past few days over the events that have occurred. But I come to offer to support the group, to add anything that I can from the perspective of healthcare and or just my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Cindy Diggs from Roxbury. I've been an activist for 40 years and I can't remember how I met Chip, but it's been a long, long time.
Hey, not that long.
long.
You said 30, 40.
Say that. Next, go for it. I'm gonna get you, Cindy.
Hey everybody, I'm Damon Kaiser, originally from Roxbury. Mom's still there. Now I'm in the North Shore. Been very passionate about things going on in the community. I worked on Aaron Tanaka's campaign about 10 years ago. Wow, further than that, the Corey Reform campaign. Worked on that, knocked on doors, voter registration, a bunch of items. And I'm just here to lend my support to anyone that needs it.
I met Damon 15, 20 years ago. He tried to get my ID at the club. He was a bouncer, and I kind of walked past him. And been on since. So, ID me? Who IDs me at the club? Are you serious? Of course, Damon. Good to have you as a good friend now.
We run the club.
Hey, this is Torino. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. This is Torino, the artist formerly known as Desi from Boston, Massachusetts. Actually, I'm in Virginia right now. I moved recently, so just chiming in. Actually, I've never met Chip before, never partied with him before, done any work with him. He's a brand new face to me.
Good to see you.
All right, y'all.
What's up, Desmond?
What up now? Peace, brother.
All right, keep on going. We got another 7 more introductions, and we'll get right in. Go for it.
Okay, can I go?
Yep, we're all doing 15-second introductions, everybody. Go for it.
Okay, hi, I'm Toy and I am the founder and executive director of Dee Dee's Cry Suicide Prevention and Family Support. I'm also the founder and executive director of the Roxbury Unity Parade. I have not met Chip, but Cindy invited me, so I am here.
Yay.
Toy Burton, I see your name all over the place.
Okay.
Okay. Next, keep on going. Rachel, you got to jump in too. You can't be under Tia's thing. So, and also Lizette as well. Don't try to hide Lizette.
Say hi, because I'm at Tia's house. I saw Miss Hunter. Hi, Miss Hunter.
Hey, baby. How are you?
Rachel, tell everyone your name.
Hi, I'm Rachel Delavaux. I'm from Cambridge. Went to school. Miss Hunter.
Yeah.
Miss Hunter, Chip over at Area 4. He was my youth director at the time. I'm getting my doctorate as well. Happy to meet you all.
What's your topic?
Yeah, I'm focusing on how the culture at predominantly white schools impacts Black identity development and how after school programming serves as an intermediary for Black identity development.
Thank you.
Can you put your email address in the chat, please?
Can everyone put your email address, your name and email address in the chat, please? Thank you so much.
Are you going to send that out, Chip?
Yes, I will. Another 10 more people just joined. I just want to do that before we get into the bulk of the meeting.
Jamal Crawford, Roxbury.
Brother Jamal, good to see you. Any comments? You got 10, 15 seconds of comments. Go for it.
Community activists, police, criminal justice, Black things, Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism. Go.
Thank you very much. Also, Jamal does a daily Facebook Live just to give people perspective of what's going on, because sometimes you hear it through CNN and all that, but Jamal puts his own perspective on it, and it's a good half an hour, 45 minutes. I try to get it, try to watch it every other day to keep it informed what's going on in Boston. Thank you, Jamal, for your service in that, and many other things, Next. Come on, let's get out of here. Come on, 8 more, let's go. Everyone got to know who's on this call.
Hey, what's up? I'm Todd Avery Hart.
So we can know who it is. Go ahead. Who's next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Joseph Pearson Green. I saw this post in a group chat that Chip shared, and I sit in Washington, D.C., and I just came on here to learn and to listen from amazing Black leaders.
We're going to learn from you, too, so remember that. Next. Keep on going.
I think I'll go next. I don't know. Can anybody?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I'm a clinical social worker right out of Boston, and I think there's echo going on.
So happy to be here. Look forward to everything that everyone has to share.
I hear 2 people going.
Okay.
First person, who's going first? All right, go for it. Keep on going, young lady, the social worker.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I was invited here by a coworker, so I'm just kind of here to listen and figure out if there's anything that I can learn or share or network or whatever. So, and my name is Jada, and I'm an immigrant from Cape Verde, so straight out of Africa.
Bogo, Savaset, Praia, where? What part?
Evo.
Oh, São Vicente.
Okay, great.
Evo.
Next.
Well, my name is Eric Sunday. I work for Chase Bank as a fund accountant. I'm out of Boston, Dorchester, and I'm here because of Nav. Well, Nav is here because of Chip. So basically, my OG's OG from here. So.
Nice.
Oh, Eric, you're at Chase Bank, you said?
Yeah. I've been with Chase Bank for a couple months. I'm like pretty much like over NAV oversight in a sense. So I look over all the funds that get published in the Financial Times or Wall Street and all that stuff.
Excellent.
Okay, good. And 2 more. I think there's 2 more left, and we can get started. Mr. Todd Avery Hart. Is he on?
Yeah, I'm here. I tried to go before.
I'm Todd Aviehart, reside in Cleveland, Ohio. Known Chip for over 25 years.
Yeah, Winter, Barton Brown, everyone knows me as Nav. Former educator with the Technology Goes Home program, and the Cyber Shop, Common Square, also entertainer, event coordinator, and graphic designer, and you name it.
Shara, you're on here. Did Shara go yet? Shara? Not yet? Okay, quickly, I wanted to kind of get people where we're at and what we're trying to go for the next hour on this phone call. The first 20 minutes is really going to be about people just discussing what they're hearing from the young people and from the people that are protesting. I am in Atlanta. Atlanta is very interesting because as you guys in Massachusetts and other parts have been on a certain kind of lockdown, Atlanta has been on a kind of medium lockdown, business as usual. The restaurants have been open for the last 3 or 4 weeks. The protesting has happened over the last week, and we've had several curfews. And one thing I'm noticing in our town, especially the home of the civil rights movement, as you might say, is that mostly 75% or 80% of the people that are protesting are people that are non-African American or Black, which is a good thing, but also is also ways that we got to think about what ways can we start understanding what the agenda is. Because what I've done is I pretty much pulled over young people side by side and asked them what do they believe the agenda is, and you're hearing many different things. Some people are just here to say, hey, I'm here for the movement. I'm here to be here. I'm here to be a body. Some people have many different agenda items that they shared about what they're angry with of not being able to graduate, but also graduate on stage or as a high school student or as a college student. And some people are really just aggravated around the current economy and the President Trump and just in COVID in general. So today, we have over 30-something people in here, and I know we're planning to get more, is just really get a take of where people think, what the voices are out there. And then the next part is the way that we can, as the uncles and aunts and now the older generation, compared to maybe 10 to 15 years ago, we would always wait for Mel King or Caroline Hunter or someone else to help.
Chuck Turner.
Chuck Turner, lots of
Happy birthday, Chuck Turner.
Happy birthday, Chuck Turner, lots of names. Ken Guscott, Darren Richardson, many of these names that we would kind of just wait. But you know, you look around and find out that many of these people are at home right now, as they should be, in COVID situation, and they're 80 or 90 years old, G. McGuire as well. But what role are we starting to play in taking leadership and also educating and mentoring the next generation of young people out there? There's been some connects, there's been some disconnects. The state of the nonprofit community right now with COVID is bad, and you know what Black organizations after that will be extra, extra bad. And so today I want to just, for the first kind of like 20 to 25 minutes, is really just hear what people are hearing from their own perspectives of people they're talking to. And next, after last half an hour, is really getting toward the action steps and the kickoff that I'm doing on Friday to have some Black bodies at Grove Hall, just to be out there and sharing themselves as bodies of support and having signs that people make at their own house, just to be out there. If we get 20, 25 people out there, I'm gonna call it success. But you know what? Sometimes in organizing, you gotta put your body out there. We've also asked people to start looking at some books. And I bet several of you have some books that can really bring some home to just what's going on. I bet Jamal has a good a book listserv that he's willing to share, and I bet other people too. But we just wanted to get people to know and get people to read, and also use that as a piece in our tool belt instead of just coming off from the hip of what we're saying. But I am very appreciative of these young people. I'm very proud of a lot of them. I work with a lot of them at Georgia State University, but I work with all around the country and so forth. And I'm just really proud of them trying to take leadership and understanding what it is. But I also want to be a voice that listens and also helps them develop those skills. So please, anybody would like to jump in? We're just talking about what you're hearing from the young people and what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and just really just dissecting that. And I'm going to take some notes while you talk. People talk.
If I can, this is Asha Khalida really quick, because I'm still on work hours, to speak to that, exactly what you said, because I am technically at the end, I'm the bridge generation. I'm not quite in my late 40s, mid 40s, but I'm not removed from them. And what I'm seeing that the young people aren't getting.
Let me give you a quick one. I'm looking at 17 to 29 as our young people definition.
Okay, so then I am the generation like I benefited from the generation that's 45 and up. So when you're talking, so what I hear from that 17 to 29, because I am that bridge generation, is what I'm seeing, they don't have what I had. They don't have the Cindy's and the Chips. They don't have that. And I think that adds to the lack, or the books and the literature. They don't have Waleem. They don't know they're not really going to know who Dan Richardson is, rest in peace, or Mel King or Chuck Turner, or even Dick Gregory. They don't, it's kind of a disconnect in resources, and in listening to them, and they kind of say, I'm kind of youthful, and they're like, oh, we didn't know you were that age. That's what I'm seeing. Just briefly, like they just don't have that. The internet is their go-to versus that literature, those books that, Carter G. Woodson, those kinds of things. The resources are not the same for them. And that is what I'm hearing from them, the disconnect. They want referrals and resources and prove it to me. And the internet seems to be the way to go for them versus the way I had to go. Like, I physically could talk to y'all. Y'all went in college while I was like a freshman and, middle year high schooler. And but I experienced that is the biggest thing for them, is the disconnect to someone who is 45. It's not really that far away, or someone who's 42. So that's what I would say is a cry out for strategy, and not just, what is it? It's like getting it off your chest. What are the next steps? I knew what the next steps were, because Cindy was there, because you were there, because my aunts and uncles were there. Juneteenth, like it was kind of built in structure. So that would be, I say that piece.
Chip, if I could chime in, one of the main things is from what I've gathered in a meeting what we had with some, I won't get into names, but there's a sentiment that sort of age group of the maybe 21 to 25 that's moved into sort of a midler, they were leading, they were teen empowerment, they went to college, the adult voice is not as appreciated. I'll frame it like that. And that's a sentiment I've heard for like the past week and a half. And so folks like Darren and whatnot have tried to not over assert, I'm trying to get him on, not over assert a skill set, with also just helping them recognize the opportunity to seize a moment with after the protests. I put in the thing, how do we support them and us ourselves? And I would challenge us beyond Friday just to stand, to get into spaces in our individual and continue, but also where do we pop? Where do we make them put it on paper? Because these folks lighter than me, open. And how do we seize an opportunity for policy and legislation? But to the young people's point, from what I've heard from some folks that are in there with them, that age group is, with the three sort of sub tiers in there, is very interesting. They're marching tonight, and Sunday a lot of adults went to support. Tonight, we don't know, and it's getting ready to get dark, and it's like we want to believe and hope, but so there has to be bridge building. I think, as Asha's point, some of us are older. That mid tier between us and that group, I don't know what happen. We didn't get pulled into leadership. So anyway, not to go too deep, but just to your point of the youth, there's a sentiment that they're kind of like, we're good.
Yeah, I've heard the, I mean, not currently, but when Mike Brown was killed, I reached out to the leadership of the the folks at that time, and the sentiment that I received that this is not your grandmother's march. And so I've been marching on Washington since I was 14 years old, and I went to the 20th anniversary of the original March on Washington. So I've been involved for a really long time, and having been on the committee with all of the Million Family March, the Millions More movement, and those sort of things. It's like we know some things and we can share some things, but having been a youth worker for so many years, the other thing that I know is that young people don't want anybody to tell them what to do. And having been a counselor, a substance abuse counselor, they're listening. They're just not going to admit to you that they're listening, and they're watching. And we just have to keep moving so that we are leading by example, and not so much pulling them aside and telling them how we used to do it back in the day. Because, we didn't want to hear any of that stuff either. We just wanted the elders to be at the table, and we were about to fall and bang our head. They were there to grab us, but we didn't sit on their laps. So I think that that's some of the sentiment that I'm just assuming that is happening now. So, if you pick up the phone and you call them and I want to make sure that you know this, yes, I already know that. And that's cool. I'm glad that you know that. I was really happy to see that the rally that Monica put together, that they were having people wear PPE, because, working in healthcare during COVID, that was the scariest thing for me, to see all those folks out there protesting and not having any protective mask on or anything like that, and screaming in each other's faces. So I think that, we just need to be here. If they need us, reach out and
Kenneth, hold on, please. We'd love to get your point. I know it's really late in Nigeria, but also Jamal wants to talk to you. But Kenny, can you go after Jamal?
Yeah,
Okay.
So I won't keep going. I think I'll wrap it up there for you.
Thank you. Okay. But also, before Jamal go, people, please, if you hear something good that someone's saying, please go in the chat and say, good job, Cindy. Thank you for that comment and all that.
Yeah,
but also, please put your resources in there as well. Jamal put some things. I see other people put your resources and networks in there as well. Jamal, can you give us a
No. I'm gonna defer to whoever has a time constraint from Africa or something. I'll go after that.
Okay.
All right. It's been really a great pleasure seeing the positive energy coming out of this protest. A lot of people think this is a platform for change, and I believe from this part of the world that this may be a kind of indoctrination or introduction into the political activism in the United States. The notion we have here is that everybody's so comfortable out there, and issues of politics take the back bench. But you can feel the vibe, you can feel the consciousness, you can feel the energy on the streets there. And I think this should be a launching pad for them to effectively play their part into the change movement that is fast pervading all over the United States now. I think the US will be stronger and better with this movement. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come on and come back if you need to, but and just thank you. Please put your email in there as well, sir.
Yeah, it's there already. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jamal.
All right, so I try to be a speaker of truth, and oftentimes that puts me in a position of the doomsday thing. Superman's father, who tells people the whole planet's about to blow up, and nobody's trying to hear that. Okay, but unfortunately now we're in a position where now people are listening to things that myself and others have been talking about, warning about, for so long. So, okay, no sour grapes, no spilled milk, but now what do? So now my only concern is like as a soldier, as a tactical type of thinker, my only problem is now the people who know the least cannot be in the position where they are the voices of the leadership. So the youth thing and all that, that's great. And you know, we were all young once. I get it, right? No problem. But they still don't know what they don't know. You understand? And if you notice, even the best of them who have tried to surmount any type of what could even be close to a demand, it's either based on something else or it is unrealistic. So what I'm hearing from the youth is not only a lack of willingness for guidance, but also too, because I could step out the way. If your shit was together, I would have no problem, right? But I haven't heard any assessment that would make me want to trade what I already know for this newfangled thing, sight unseen, this unproven, untested, unresearched, poorly thought out, weak theory. So even now, if we're talking about things like, you know, defund the police, what does that look like? We have different people in the mix that say we don't even need the police. Well, who gonna answer the old lady's call at 3 o'clock in the morning? Who? You? No. So we have to have a sense of realism, and unfortunately, youth has never been, look, they have an age requirement to be a president, don't they?
Yes, 35.
And there's an age requirement for a driver's license and all that, right?
Yes.
So that's because we already know the structure of the brain and all this type of things, where a lot of these people, their brains ain't even all the way solid yet. They haven't even all the way developed maturity and discipline. And me, as a father, right, and all of y'all who know people, and a lot of y'all work with youth and all this, you can't depend on some of these 20 years old to do the damn laundry and pay their phone bill. And you think they're gonna lead the movement? Let's not talk crazy. It's a lack of accountability within our own selves. And so the preachers ain't gonna get us out of this. God bless them, but the mamas ain't gonna get us out of this, okay? The only thing that is gonna get us out of this is the research, the study that goes towards plans, policies, and proposals that not only address the issues that we already have, but set up disciplinary measures, strong disciplinary measures for what happens when they violate them, because they are going to violate them. The proposals mean nothing. They are going to violate. So, and then the last thing I'll say, and I end on this, Cindy, I heard what you said, like with the big the rally and the masks and all that, right? But let me tell you, so here's what I saw, Cindy. I see a whole bunch of this. So first of all, I see this one. So your nose is not even covered. I see that. Okay. Then I see when the camera get in your face, I see that one. Okay? So now we all out. But then we do something like, yeah, fight the power, justice, no pick. And then we go like that. Okay. We touching this, we touching that. We hugging, we taking pictures. So once again, I hate to be Dr. Doomsday, but let's not pretend like these people were doing any kind of regulations or nothing. And my prediction, my people, to put on my Nick Cannon, Johnny Carson hat, my prediction is that in 10 to 14 days, we, the Black and Latino community, are going to have hell to pay all across the country. And let me put on my tinfoil hat. While we're doing all this, we just got more testing sites and all that. What is it? It's nasal swabs. Now they just expanded it to blood and saliva, right? If you think that these people are not doing a massive DNA collection database, then you're stupid, all right? So this is what's going on right now. And if folks want to, you know, I don't know what folks do. As I told this to Jimmy earlier, the Bible verse says, I don't know what other folks are doing, blah, blah, blah. But as for me and mine, we will worship the Lord.
Right. All right.
Hi, everyone. If I may, I've got to jump off in a minute to another. But
Sorry.
I'm part of my Brother's Keeper Cambridge Task Force, and we hosted a youth rally on Sunday at Cambridge Common where over 2,000 people showed up in solidarity. And to summarize the feedback from the youth, they were obviously devastated about the lynching of George Floyd. But on top of that, they unearthed a whole host of grievances that have not been addressed. That spans from lack of support from guidance counselors and not being pushed to take challenging courses in terms of honors and AP level classes, not being pushed to apply to colleges that are outside of their quote unquote safety, all the way to instructors not welcoming them in their classes. They also talked about the fact that they're not taught history that is relevant to them. So, you know, you've got that piece. There's the disruption of the school year because of COVID, the fact that they were not given a proper graduation. So, you know, you've got all sorts of issues that came up, whether it's COVID, whether it's systemic racism, whether it's police brutality, everything under the sun was mentioned by them. And they are looking to us for answers as well as support. I attended a rally last Monday on Martha's Vineyard that was coordinated by a 15-year-old white girl who's a sophomore at the regional high school. And she has already made it her life's mission to continue to work to try to end systemic racism and police brutality. And we're in the process of planning another event on Martha's Vineyard. So I say that to say that the young people are disturbed. And the young people are ready to do whatever it takes to try to make a change. And I think that it's going to take everyone. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of white people involved in these rallies, whether they're planning them or attending them. And I think that it's going to take all of us. I mean, I've heard some people complain that they haven't seen enough Black and brown folks. But we've been doing the same thing for 400 plus years and gotten the same results. So it's time that we take a seat and let our white allies lead. They have to be the one to change the system because they're the ones that created it. So with that, I gotta say, have a good evening and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Lizette.
Thanks, Lizette.
Proud
You're
Xavier graduate.
This is Nav speaking. I can't remember the years. It was so long ago. I know I was in my early 20s when we started doing these meetings. So I guess I'm a Greatest Minds alumni, I would say. But real quick, James, John Jack, Nick, Cindy, Jules, Kalu, Mr. and Mrs. Sunday, Darren, Ruthie, everybody here, Jamal. I want to introduce you to someone, Miss Shara G. I want to introduce you to somebody that came in here because we talked a lot about, and hopefully he can turn on his screen for a little bit, for a second. I want to introduce you to somebody that you guys would be surprised to hear from, because we're talking about a lot with the youth and what the youth say and what the youth say. I don't know if I'm the only one that has a child between the age of 18 and 24, but if so, if I'm not the only one, we should actually bring some of them to the meeting, so that we can actually hear from them, just like how we was heard from so many years ago.
Yeah.
If you can unmute, Winter, can you just say hello to the group real quick? Everybody I called out because this is a certain situation. Winter, can you say hello to the group? This is Winter Jr. here.
This better not be your seed 18 to 24, Jesus.
How you doing? I present to you Winter Jr., everybody.
Okay.
My firstborn.
Wow.
Well, I was right.
Nav, you just made me feel real old because I was an adult when you were a kid.
Yeah. So
ran into you when you was like 12, 14.
So you heard a lot of what people were saying in here, right? When they were saying somebody to lead or what and so forth, and some of the kids they're willing to be guided. I just like to say, what do you get from some of your peers, some people that aren't your peers? You hear people say stuff on your Twitter feed that we don't get on our Twitter feed. What are they really saying? Are they looking to be guided? And if so, how would they be guided? What's your take on it? You still here? Did we lose him?
Hello?
Grand opening, grand closing. My son.
Zoom was in shock, like we all were.
No word.
My son. He went outside the house. He probably was locked onto his Wi-Fi. But we'll get him back in here.
Okay, please.
But yeah, I only asked him in there because I think it's important. You guys tell me if it's important to ask the kids.
Yeah, most definitely.
Young people.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question like Chip and Cindy and people who who've been in community activism? Do you see that there's less access to, let's say, scholarships and after school programs and stuff like that than they were like back in like the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s? Is there more or there's less?
I would say I have there's not as many. I have an 18-year-old, and if you don't, it's just, we're not the only minority.
Who's speaking?
They're not specifically catered to us as much.
Who's speaking?
It's Asha.
So we have to also, I use this as a reference. There's a lot less resources targeted towards our Black excellence because now we're not the only minority. Chinese are, getting my son into private schools, though he chose a Roxbury school. That was one of the things that they're not just trying to take some underprivileged or some, what we call bad behind Black kid anymore. They don't need that. They don't want to deal with the stress of it. They're like, do you come from a family that's supportive? So that thing kind of where a lot of funds were funded to us, they're being split off into other communities under the POC umbrella. So they're there, but they're not as concentrated or directed at us alone, if that helps.
That's the same for businesses. A business, like, you don't have the same grants or stuff to support for businesses. So,
Jamal, can you jump in about your perspectives around the city and how they gave resources out for COVID for businesses? Jamal, are you there, Jamal?
Oh, Darren's here. He said he wants to jump in.
You talking about Jamal Crawford?
Yeah, Jamal Crawford. Yeah. Can you give us
what the city is doing for COVID?
What they did for businesses?
Easy, bro. Easy, bro.
Outreach.
All right, so once again, Dr. Doom. We already dealt with the fact that
you have theme music yet for your Dr. Doom?
Nah, but listen, I might put the mask back on.
Go for it.
So for real, we are in times of plenty and bliss and serenity, right? Black people got less than 1% of the contracts. So in a time of crisis, do we think that we do better or worse? And also, if the model was that Black businesses were unable, ill-equipped, and ill-staffed to handle these certain major large productions, now when all the COVID money is coming in, so for instance, let's say basketballs are going to start up and somebody needs to do a COVID disinfecting of the Boston Garden. Is a Black company going to get that? No. Who's going to disinfect the John Hancock building?
Oh,
Okay?
Sullivan's.
Okay, so now what's gonna happen is the convention center, John B. Hines, all this. So what's gonna happen is certainly white companies are gonna do what they've done. They've never had a problem employing us. They gonna get the big contract, and then you're gonna see the little round-shaped Guatemalan women doing the work.
Yeah.
You're gonna see Pedro and Paco and Tyrone and whatnot doing the work in the back. Okay, and they gonna be at the very lowest wage possible, and they gonna have the most minimalistic. Now, Darren could speak to this in terms of the unions and all that and what happens, but you know, we have a totem pole. So whatever COVID money now is coming through, city, state, whatever, most folks right now getting more money through the god doggone unemployment thing than they was getting from their regular doggone jobs. And that's a fact.
My intern quit because of that.
What? He just started last week.
No, yeah.
Mention, can I say something real quick, and then I gotta get off because I've been working until 6. I love the passion and the, you know, of what did he call himself? Dr. Strange or Dr. Evil? I'm sorry.
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom. I am sorry. It's so funny. I'm the mother of 4 boys. I should have all of this down pat. I think, in my perspective, I'm like, there was a time that was in another meeting, and I was like, you know, Black Lives Matters, I get it, everybody's talking about it. There's this like, there's this boiling over of emotions, and that's important. I think that I personally don't discount the contribution of the youth, because they bring a certain what is it called, like a boiling over. They bring the adrenaline, they bring in the rush, and they bring the emotion. And if anybody knows about sort of manifesting into reality certain visions, that the emotion behind it is what brings it into reality, into the plane of reality. It's the emotion that brings it forth, and that's what that youth sort of brings forward. And I feel like people have been eloquently demanding things for way before I immigrated to this country. There've been eloquent demands of certain justices and things like that. And it's not until, it sounds like, until everything, you know, boils over and things get burnt down and people are emotional and you have people who are angry, and this group of teenagers, you know, are, you know, essentially they're powerhouses of this energy, then we then harness with the older people, the 40 pluses, having a clear vision of exactly what it is that we're trying to bring into reality. So for me, it's almost alchemy of those two elements between their young energy. It might not be focused, it might be anger, it might be love, it might be just a boiling over of something they can't understand, but they've inherited through the years. They can't vocalize it, and they certainly, it's just there, it's just and then there's this that says, well, this is the vision, you know. So but just the vision without all of that energy, I don't think ever bring results. You know, somebody was telling me, oh, the rioting is absurd. And I'm like, is it absurd? Yes, it's necessary. You know, but now, I'm sorry if other people don't feel it's necessary, and I get it. I think people have a different perspective, but it's that energy. And then what I had asked many times, I said, well, what's the vision that we're trying to bring into reality, that we're going to harness all that energy? Their energy, the youth energy is needed, but the thing that we need is to harness it. So not discount it and not make it seem like it's not needed or not appropriate. It's there for a reason. We must then take it and then use it to bring forth the vision. What I haven't heard is the 40 pluses, and I'm 40, saying what the vision is, you know, like the clear vision. You know, what are we trying to manifest? And it could just be me, you know, I'm a mom and, you know, I'm trying to get some exercise and I'm, you know, trying to make sure nobody dies from COVID and all of that. And maybe I just haven't received that information. But I'm like, if I haven't received it, you know, like, has other people received it? Like, who's manifest? Like, overall, we should have a vision of what it is that we're trying to manifest so we can harness that energy appropriately. And maybe somebody can educate me on that.
That's
But
geographical, that's leadership, it's interesting depending on where you're calling from, and it speaks to also the fact of unidentified leadership and leaderful people, and that's it.
I just feel like there should be a community, a Black vision, like one unified, and I'm not talking, you know, like just Africans or like just one, you know, like let the young people riot, let them burn it down, and then let's tell them what we are burning it down for. Sorry.
No, so hold on just a second, Brother Jamal, if I can. Sister, I would say this. I cannot afford for our best and brightest to be another Khalid Broward. I understand that, and you mentioned alchemy, but that is suicide. And we have to really balance that. We cannot afford as people who like send, like, in Jamal, whatever you can, you know what I mean? Because they call me Killmonger too. Like, he's Dr. Doom and I'm right there with, like, I understand, but that is how these outsiders use our children's energies and use it in these sacred ceremonies and play on our children. And that like, it's not just children rioting, but we also have to say what lawyers are in place to get them out of jail. What things are protecting them? Like Cindy said, the PPE. We cannot I'm not sending my child out there to chaos. They will know where to run, where their go packs are. It's structure. Where's their go packs? As parents, I'm 42, right? Where's the go packs for them? I remember that hearing my uncles and them. Yo, if something goes down in the city, where do you go to get it? Some keys and some money to meet us at a meeting place. Have we structured that for them? So before we let them riot, we must also balance the consequences. So when you say let them riot, but do we have a set of lawyers?
They're already rioting.
No, what I'm saying, do we
and
have
the energy's already there. We just have to harness it.
Like,
well, what I'm saying is, do we have a set of structures?
Can I get a couple of seconds?
Chip, hold on 1 second. I know Darren wanted to go. Is Darren Howard?
Oh yeah, Darren.
He's here.
Yeah, he was.
Let him go,
Yeah, I
please.
appreciate this dialogue, and thank you, Chip, for creating this space. I'm going to be short as I can be. I am driving, so I'm trying to be responsible too. But long story short, I've been pushing this narrative of you know, this opportunity doesn't come too often in terms of where we actually have folks willing to be to a degree potentially sympathetic to our issues right now, and it's a gambit of issues, right? It's systematic oppression. And right now, I definitely understand there is a role for the youth, but I also believe that we cannot leave our future only in the hands of the youth. It is an opportunity for us that are in between the elders of the civil rights movement and like you said, the 40, 30, mid 30s to mid 40s year old to play a role in actually providing some level of support and guidance. I know I've been telling people often for the last few weeks, we got to put it on paper, because all these things sound good. A lot of this stuff is symbolic, but it ain't putting nothing on paper. And I've learned a little bit about, you know, endorphins and people being around each other and feeling all good. And, you know, that's great. But when people separate, I want some tangible results to come out of it. And there's a lot of folks on this call that understands the various lanes of the issues that they've been focused on for quite some time. Right now, we have folks that, you know, the system leans white. So why not get these white people that are currently in these roles to start putting their name on paper for the things that we've been pushing, you know, and figuring out what is that that we should be pushing right now that we can get done. But I think a lot of this is back and forth. But I just wanted to throw that out there as my 2 cents.
Can I say?
I just say one thing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say is that, you know, because you had mentioned regards to if they have legal representative, do they have like an Arnold Lozano or a Sean Fonts or a Michael Curry to back them? Do we have that situation where you have that, you know, those set of situations? Or do you, if we're talking about business, do you have a group that's writing or is putting together regards to business or education? What is a group that addresses education? So, I mean, it seems like there needs to be a break-off for 3 different groups right there alone.
Can I speak to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. I want to speak to a couple of things. I don't have hi tomorrow. I don't have a long time to stay, and I need to like leave and come back on. But a couple of things. I'm part of an organization. I live in Easton, which is a small town outside of Boston. We are. I belong to an organization we just started last year called Raising Multicultural Kids. So it's for RMK. One of our missions is to bring the proper education into the system and dismantle what's already been done. Like stop the mock trials on slavery, stop the things that are making our kids go, what? So we have kids that are back from college right now, and we have our current students who attended our school committee meeting last night, and they spoke up, and they weren't on the agenda, but our superintendent put them on the agenda. And our head of the social studies department at the high school is working on dismantling the social studies curriculum, the history curriculum, to incorporate what the kids are asking for. So we're making small changes in a small town. We're not so small anymore, but they're listening to us. So our kids are rising up and we're giving them voice. So I spoke at a protest here in our town last Sunday, and then again this Sunday. This Sunday was led by young people. All young people spoke except me. And I ended up, and I was on the backside advising the young person that started it. So over 500 people showed up, and mostly young people. And our police stood with us and said, yes, change needs to happen. Our police chief, Chief Sullivan, is working with our youth to address any type of bias. Also in the educational system, to address the issue that we don't have any teachers of color. There's nobody that looks like my daughter. So they're speaking up and they're listening, so change is happening, small pockets, and I would love for anybody to be part of that change here. Also addressing concerns of racism within the community. Right now I'm looking for a pro bono civil rights attorney, because there is a family that's being hurt in our community, being harassed by their neighbors, and they're an interracial family. And they rent their apartment, and we're trying to find them housing. So we started a GoFundMe, but RMK is active saying, we're calling you out. We're throwing you out there, and we need to help the people that need the help. So anybody that has any pro bono time, please let me know. That's a side note to that. So we're not stopping though. And my message to the young people consistently is, show up for your friends and don't stop here. And they're reiterating that, educate, advocate, right? Continue to stand up for each other. So that's what's happening in the small towns, and we're primarily a white town, but we're growing. So anybody that wants to be on board, hi Cindy, anybody that wants to be on, been doing this for a while.
That's right.
To be on board with me, or can offer me any assistance, any knowledge to jump in and talk to my group, RMK, or in my school or my class at Roxbury, because I teach there. Please let me know, because we have to work together. And
that's right.
Because that's what we embody. So I'm done talking, because I can talk too much, right?
Thank you. I wanted to give a little perspective here, and then I wanted to give it to Lorella to just say a couple words, and then I'll give it on to somebody else. On the first name, the things that I've heard from people that I've heard, and I put them down in the standout, was K through 16 education, equal opportunity employment, income equity, ending police brutality, and ending racism. Those are the buckets, all right, that I've heard from people, and that's the one that I'm going to be as forward as an agenda that I plan to work on with people as well. You know, the things that I'm really good at was pretty much maybe K through 16 education and income equity are some of the things I've studied. Ending police brutality, that's not my area. That's, you know what I mean?
So,
studied it. Let me just keep on going. I haven't studied.
Can I just jump in, because I do have to go to a work function.
Hold on, let me just finish my piece. And then equal opportunity is some things I've worked on. But I'm just saying the areas I know I'm K through 16 education and income equity. Those are the areas I know I can put some impact on. And I know I'm not an expert or try to be an expert in that other area. And also, I wanted people to also look at the mission statement that I have for Greatest Minds. And it's funny, when we started in 2008, this is a 12-year mission statement that finally got put together finally now. But, you know, we kind of wrote this 4 months ago, and it kind of fit in the same areas. And I put that in as well. But before I have Cindy go, is that what, and that's what we're going to move into next, is what Friday, June 12th is. It's just a showing of bodies, of adult bodies in Grove Hall. It can be 15 people, it can be 20 people, I don't care. But I just hope that everyone can just have some bodies out there and just show, and you know, maybe have some signs. I'll have some t-shirts. I'm trying to find all the t-shirts, what I've had, for 200 of them somewhere. I think they're at ABCD and they're looking for them now. Giving those out, but just for people just to get together and be, you know, of course, social distancing and mask and all that. But just to get together, just to show some Black bodies do care. And then I just also want to put on people's thing to do two things. One is to put your email inside of the chat. And also that I am hoping to break up into these areas of K through 16 education, equal opportunity, income equity, and ending police brutality this Sunday from 6 to 8. I know that hopefully Jamal will be able to do some of the work on ending police brutality, because that's not my area. I know you have a meeting tomorrow about that online. I hope you put that in there so people can attend that. I plan to attend that as well. But that's just my piece. And then I wanted Lorilla to jump in, and Cindy, I'm gonna have you jump in before that. But you gotta realize, in Atlanta, I'm not sure if you saw the live newscast when police officers pulled over those young college students. And I think they thought they were gonna pull over some kid from College Park or East Point, but they pulled over the wrong group, because you know what? That was Spellhouse and Morehouse up in the building. And one thing about Spellman and Morehouse, and Lorilla Freeman, who's from Minnesota and Atlanta, will be able to jump into there, is that they have backup, and those students were able to raise $200,000 in a matter of 14 hours and have representation. And also you gotta realize is that Keisha is the mayor. She's 48, 49 years old. And remember, the parents and all of them, they went to college with Keisha. They went to block parties with Keisha. They were at Freaknik with Keisha. And so it's a whole different reality when you get your homegirl that's the mayor named Keisha. Remember, we have a Black man named Keisha down here on the phone and say, you know what, you better take care of this business or you ain't coming to the family cookout no more. You know what I mean? So there's some different things. And then, you know, Cornel West, if some people like him, some people don't like him, but he brought up this whole piece about, you know, it's very interesting that Black Lives Matter came under an Obama administration. What do we say about Black faces in high places? You know what I mean? Did they actually, I mean, I think the funding community, once they found out all the civic and education, after Deval Patrick and Obama were in office, they're like, you know what? Done trying to go for immigration, done trying to save the environment. And the Black College Alliance at the same time, at that time in 2012, you know, kind of had to take a tanker because that was off the agenda of what was a funding viability. I bet Jamal knows and Cindy knows what's going on in the funding world right now for nonprofits, especially Black-run nonprofits in the city of Boston. But I know it's a disaster of just funding what's going on. So Cindy, I'd like you to go, then I'd like Lorilla to go, and then Jamal, if you can kind of give us some points on that. But I just want everyone to know, we're gonna, I guess in this Zoom, you can break off into groups. So on Sunday from 6 to 9, if everyone puts their email, I'd love to have a half an hour what's up, and then have people to do an hour of breaking off into groups and so forth. So Tia, I hope that you can help run the K through 16 education panel along with Rachel and other people in education. I bet I can do the income equity because that's some of my stuff that I'm doing with my dissertation. Ending police brutality, equal opportunity, and racism can also fit and together as well. All right, so Cindy, you want to say something before you run to your next meeting? And then Jamal, and then Lorilla, then Jamal.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to echo what James and Darren are saying about put it on paper, but I also want to say that we need to put some paper behind that. Like we're trying to do this work, and you have, you know, the whole country is protesting, but we need to have money for more than just the bailouts. We need to be able to put money behind organizations that have been doing this work for many, many years. And I can remember watching your the video of us talking and me yelling at people because I was trying to sell a CD, but what people didn't understand was that I was using the money from the CD to be able to do the programming that we need to do for young people, because what's going to happen right now is that a lot of the funding is going to shift to COVID. I work at Mass General Hospital, and I can see it already, not because of that, not because I work at MGH, but I just know that the hospitals are losing millions of dollars a day, and you know the other people that would normally give to our programming are going to be giving it to this work and this research for this COVID. So the organization that I've been standing behind for the past 15 years is the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, and we are supporting their efforts to bring healing to our community, because there's so many people dealing with mental health issues that, you know, not just because of youth violence, but now with the anxiety that's being caused by COVID, and you're stuck in the house, and people are having insomnia because they are so worried about what's going to happen. And we're getting ready to open back up. And I actually made a call today to occupational health. I mean, you want me to go back and work on a unit with doctors that we're serving on the COVID units, and I have an issue with that. So, you know, these are things that are going in people's minds. How are you going to get your next meal? And, you know, doing it ourselves and raising this money. I watched, I don't protest anymore. I don't march anymore because my marching days started in 1983. But I do watch what's happening, and I know that they were able to come up and raise $40 million for a bailout. But, you know, what do we have on peace? And, you know, the young people that have been, you know, the murder rate that has not stopped during this COVID. I mean, there's an epidemic of gun violence and violence in general during COVID that, you know, we need to be addressing. We can't keep going to the next sexy thing that happens. And, you know, those of us who work in nonprofit, I started off in STDs and teen pregnancy prevention, and then the next thing is cigarettes, and then the next thing. We can't keep doing that. If we're going to work on this problem, then we need to put some systems in place, like you said, putting it on paper, but then having some money behind so that we can do the programs that we want to be able to do for these young folks. And unfortunately, I have to go. We have our end of year celebration. It's been a rough few months for those of us who work in healthcare, so I really need some downtime where I don't have to think about anything. But I really appreciate you bringing this back. I was one of the original guests 10 years ago, and I'm glad to see people there. And shout out to Jules. I haven't seen you in a long time, but I saw your name jump up. But thank you, everybody, and I'll try to do it on Sunday. Yes.
Cindy, when you're putting out the CD and for the cause that you're putting it out for, my only suggestion is.
Oh no, that was then. I'm not doing the CD.
You don't do CDs. We don't do CDs anymore.
I ain't seen this in a long time. And you don't have to feel any kind of way about not marching anymore. Because if you go out there and march and someone put their hands on you, y'all all better get bail money ready for me. Because I'm coming.
Oh I saw you at the gala. Knock it off. I don't need
Stop,
nobody
Cindy.
to know.
Stop.
Yeah, put your yeah. But I mean, we are doing the Father's Day concert for peace. I'm bringing the DJs for peace back and the recording artists for peace on Father's Day, because it's time for the men to start participating in this Mother's Walk. I'm actually gonna challenge Chip for you to join our team. MGH, we're the #1 team in raising money, but we need to get more people involved so that the Peace Institute doesn't have to keep getting denied, because they're the ones that help all of the families of murder victims. So Chip, I'm gonna add you to our team. Each team member has to raise $1,000, and I'm also gonna challenge the people on this call. Go to my page and donate $20. The information is right there, and let's get this work done. All right, y'all, I gotta go have a drink with my people. It'll be Coca-Cola, but you know. All right, thank you and good night. Peace.
Who's next? Lorella, can you jump on real quick, or can you jump on?
Absolutely, absolutely. My name's Lorelia Freeman. I'm a French and Spanish teacher at STEM Carver High School in Atlanta. Chip and I were classmates in college, so that Spell House network is strong. I'm currently on COVID vacation in the Twin Cities, sandwiched right between the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I'm 2 miles away from the turmoil in Minneapolis, a mile away from the turmoil in St. Paul. And I guess I want to speak to the K through 12 curriculum piece. I think now is the perfect time for us to be writing curriculum. It is not, we can't just push for new curriculum and not offer the alternative. I think now is the time to do it. I think now is the time for us to be talking about starting our own schools. One of the things that I know is happening, certainly here, Minnesota is known for its philanthropic giving and nonprofit giving. It has one of the largest communities of nonprofit giving in the nation. There are a lot of well-meaning white folks or people who just want to keep a good profile who have a lot of money to spend. And so it is really important that we come up with concrete plans to be able to hand to them and say, we need 200,000 for this, here's exactly how it goes, so that they can give a thumbs up or thumbs down immediately to support this programming. Also, one of the things that I think we need to be considering is the Boston HBCU connection, concretely strengthening our alumni organizations and funneling kids to our HBCUs and funneling whatever money we have to our HBCUs. We know that our kids are being taught about themselves at HBCUs, and we have the evidence that our kids are not getting knowledge either in K through 12 or in traditional public school settings. And so we really need to be putting our money where our mouth is, pulling our kids from these non-schools of color and putting them where we want them to be learning what we want them to learn. I'm so excited every time Chip loops me into another group.
Did we lose? I think we lost some noise. Hold on one second.
Can you hear me?
Back.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but one of the 4 police officers that was involved in the murder of George Floyd has been released. He was released on bail today. The last news that I saw was that there were protests at the Capitol here in St. Paul and that a Columbus statue had been torn down, but I expect that things are going to get weird again if these police officers start being released on bail. I know the primary officer's bail was over $1 million. I think I heard that the other officers were at like 700,000, but one of them has now been released. So I suspect that may not be making mainstream news, or it will get there slowly.
If you're interested, 750,000. It's already there.
750. So if you're interested in following, I would think that what's happening in Minnesota is going to break locally. It's about a half an hour or longer delay to the national news. So you can watch WCCO, which is the local CBS affiliate. They're streaming. You can watch them live. WCCO. They also have an AM radio station. Also, the newspaper here in the Twin Cities is called the Star Tribune. So if you specifically want to follow this case, one of our Morehouse brothers is part of the legal team that is handling this case, as well as the Aubrey case in Brunswick, Georgia, Lee Merritt. So if you're interested in following him specifically or giving to his office, Lee Merritt and Associates, please feel free to do that. He is handling most of the fairly recent police cases involving people of color. But it's really important that we not lose interest and that we follow these cases long after it makes the national news. We know that the news cycle won't last long. And so we've got to continue to hold feet to the fire. There have been some important developments in corporate America as well that we should be watching. But, you know, I've seen some major information today about layoffs. Starbucks is closing some 400 stores nationwide, which is huge.
400 stores?
400 stores.
3.8 billion. 3.8 billion.
Right, and the chief officer at Starbucks is a Spelman graduate, Roz Brewer, who is also the chair of the board at Spelman College. And so it'll be interesting to get some information about what percentage of people of color will lose their jobs. And Starbucks had a very rigorous tuition reimbursement program. And so how students of color are going to be affected by that, just with Starbucks alone. But I think we really need to be watching some of the companies who've had good public profiles before, making sure that we keep their feet to the fire, and then encouraging some of our other companies who either have not had a good public profile or no profile at all.
Thank you. Can someone get into the whole piece around universities ending their relationships with police departments? I'm not too familiar of how that actually works. I was trying to figure it out. We're trying to look at it right now at Georgia State. We put together a task force to look at that here. But I guess I didn't realize that universities do hire out some of their services. Does anyone familiar with that?
That's news to me.
It's a bit of it's almost like the major leagues in baseball and whatever they call it, AAA.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these, when we think of police, we majorly think about the police in our city. We don't think of like most major cities have multiple different police. You got municipal police, you got this, you got that. They all have guns. They all went through the same training and so on and so forth. And if we look here in Boston, look, our commissioner, Evans, he just left here and now he runs Boston College, public safety. He's the chief of police for Boston College. So it's a retirement program for the ones that are higher up, and it's a farming and recruitment, either for if you couldn't become a Boston cop and you want to go be a college cop for a couple of years, then you have a better shot getting to a city. And if you're a guy who went, for the city cop and you couldn't get in there, then maybe you can get a job at the college. You know what I mean? And it's a cushier situation too. Not for nothing. They're not dealing with homicides and generally, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. But I wanted
to gun to your head though.
It's
But they will put guns to your head.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely that.
Yeah, go to a Boston College party and be a 17-year-old or 18-year-old and see what happens.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the things that's really important about that, I don't know if you guys have been following this legislation in New York about the availability of the police records, the professional records of police. That is huge. That is a tremendous breakthrough, that those will now be accessible to the public. I think we need to be fighting for that everywhere, that all law enforcement records are available, so that when somebody moves from one jurisdiction to another, whether the new jurisdiction chooses to acknowledge a previous record or not, we'll have it and be able to protest an officer moving from one jurisdiction to another. That's huge.
So that's what I pushed here in Massachusetts. I actually introduced that to both Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, California was unsuccessful, so on and so forth. Police decertification, that concept. There's only 6 states in the country that do not have police decertification. If you're a lawyer and you cheat an old lady out of her will, you will be disbarred. If you're a doctor and you give bad booty injections down Dudley, you will lose your medical license, right? But if you're
Newton.
Yeah, whatever. I'm saying whatever. But I'm saying if yeah. So if you're a police officer,
as a teacher, I can lose my license. So
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Plumbers. I mean, it's so many professions. Financial people, all this. So this concept is not new. Once again, like I said, only 6 states in the country don't have a process for that. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Hawaii, California. I introduced it to all of those except Hawaii and California. It's about to go down here in Massachusetts. For y'all in New York, not just the public records, but look up the concept of decertification. I sent this to so many Oh my God, the state reps at the time, I don't even know who y'all have right now, and in like New York and da 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 da. But long story short, anybody who needs to look at this can look at this. It's I run the website. All of the things that I put in there, links and stuff, no bullshit. Police decertification.us. Go look at that. People talking about what's the plan for here in Boston? Masspolicereform.org. Well, we need some sort of agenda. BostonBlackAgenda.com. Well, I never heard about anybody getting shot in Boston. Shot by police.blackstonian.org. You want data and details on reports and research? Vault.blackstonian.org. What y'all was talking about before, like a book list and all that? Conscious community curriculum. I put them all in there. So a lot of the questions that we already talked about, literally the links are in there. Y'all check that out.
Thank you. On Sunday at 6:05, what I would like for each of those committees, Tia, I'd like you to go first and Jamal to go first, just to give 5 to 6 minutes of what you think the plan of action should be. You can kind of develop that with me offline, but just under those buckets that I said earlier of I'll do the polling on income, equity, and so forth. All right. I would like for Julie Phillips and Mr. Sunday and Mr. Antonio. What's up?
Oh no.
So we would like for you guys to jump in. Mr. Antonio, you want to jump in first and just say hello and welcome? Can't hear you. Mr. Sunday and Jules, please jump in. Go for it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. So, hi everybody.
Antonio's gonna go first. Antonio, go first. Go for it.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Go ahead. Just who you are, where you're from, and also just share what your thoughts are in general, just what's going on in our streets. Antonio, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready now. Antonio from Boston, and generally, I've been following politics for a while, and I mean, I see what's going on, and it's sad what happened, but if we don't transform that energy from the protest into like election and actually voting for local election to like state election all the way up to federal election, like no change is really going to happen like that unless you put people that actually have your from your neighborhood and people that you can that because not everybody share your history and stuff. Unless you put those people in office, there's nothing really going to change like that.
Thank you. Elections, and thank you. Mr. Sunday and Jules. Asma, you want to go too, right? Do you want to say something, Asma?
I do.
Okay. Whoever wants to go first, Mr. Sunday, Jules, and Asma. Just jump in. Whoever got the button first. Go for it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Asma.
Come closer.
I can't hear you too well.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
How about now, guys? Is this better?
Yeah, better.
Okay, good. So yeah, just laid off due to COVID. I was in HR at a nursing home here in Cambridge. I do want to say a couple of things that'll touch up on what people have touched up on. In terms of rioting, I don't believe in rioting because it's just going to give us a bad perspective. And I feel like it's just something that people already want us to do. So I am not for the rioting, but I am for the protesting. But I do not believe in protesting without just a protest. I feel like a lot of people are out there protesting just because, and this is just me from what I've noticed in terms of like the youth and people my age. I'm 30, so I'm like always around and following people who are probably 25 to 33. That's like my group range. And what I'm noticing is a lot of people are misinformed. They just feel like, oh, protesting is what's gonna do it. Not everyone is registered to vote, and I feel like it's such a waste. You're out there, you're just protesting for what? I think people don't see the big picture of everything, and I feel like we, as those who are informed, need to find a collective media or a central source of information that is easy for them to kind of log into, like maybe like a social media account or something to kind of, that's interactive, that's within their platform, and that is easy for them to access and they're already familiar with. So I think we need to inform them, and we need to let them know that even though you are protesting, you better be registered to vote. And this is why you need to be registered to vote. And I also feel like people think like, oh, we're just gonna vote for a president in November and we're just gonna call it a day. So we're gonna vote once every 4 years, and that's our duty. I think we need to make it like a regular thing, where every election, no matter what state you're in, even down to school superintendents or the school boards, kind of make it a regular thing where everyone is involved. Because at the end of the day, if we don't change politics from those lower levels, we're never going to really reach the higher levels. And all this protesting and everything will kind of be for no reason.
I got you. I hear you to add that in there. I wrote that down. We'll put that on the agenda as well.
Also, with what you said about a central source, there's never going to be just one central source, but some of those lists that that Jamal had put out, as far as different websites that actually collect data and put it out there, where a lot of these mainstream sources do not put out that data. That's what I'm going to ask Jamal if he could type those things into the messaging. I typed one. If you could type the rest, please, sir, because those websites also have social media accounts as well, where you could follow those. So those are good information resources that we can spread out to everyone as well.
So I put them all there, but y'all gotta like go up in the chat. But not for nothing, Nav and anybody else too. This is kind of what we're talking about. Malcolm X said, okay, look, if we have an economic problem, we need to go to our best experts who deal with economics and the students of economics. If we're dealing with politics, we need to go to our political scientists and so on and so forth. So now, look,
to the problem.
So look, I admit I'm a genius, but I suck at money and I suck at promotion. Nav, you are a master promoter. You see what I'm saying? No, you still are. So you're a master promoter, but maybe you're not a genius, but I'm just fucking with you. But so now.
No, I'm 1 point from a genius, according to Floating Hospital, 6th floor, North Wing.
So, and not for nothing, and sister, what you just said, Sister Sunday, and Mr. Sunday, I don't know if y'all brother and sister or married, but if y'all have expertise in like social media and that type of thing, what I'm saying is I have done a lot of the groundwork and I am open for expansiveness, revision. You know, it's the Constitution. Let's amend that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Let's make it more better. Y'all can add on and what have you, but I need y'all help with getting it, Facebook, Twitter, all that. I'm an old man. I don't got none of that. So I did the thing. Please go check those links, and whatever y'all can add on, Chip, these are the conversations we had from when you first started doing this. And if anybody understands the whole concept of the greatest minds, if y'all never heard that in terms of like God body language and all that type of thing, y'all know about God bodies and all that, right? Sure, but the whole concept of, you know, like, how do we get the greatest minds together? So now if that's us, what are we contributing? I'm weak on finance. Somebody's an accountant. My man at Chase. I'm about to go get some money from a philanthropist. Bum, bum, bum. I don't know what to do with it. I don't even know what to ask. So that's what I'm talking about. We all got to use what we got to get what we want.
I think that's really important. And along with what you were talking about, I mean, this is where it's evident that the bridge didn't happen, right? Because this is how our parents were organized in the civil rights movement. They were in groups based on their area of expertise, and they were attacking at all levels. They were going to school board meetings to deal with curriculum. They were fighting about hiring at the post office and the police department. This is something that the younger generation, I think, was ill prepared to be engaged in. And so it's real easy for them to join either on a Twitter campaign or maybe even to put boots on the ground, but we're not giving clear direction about what those next steps are. I think one thing that I'm preparing to do as an individual, the first thing I'm going to do when I get back home is to be certified to register to vote. And every time I meet somebody, registering them to vote immediately if they are voting age, and making a commitment to pull them out on elections and say, hey, do you need a ride? Oh, have you checked out your ballot? Do you know who you're voting for? There are Black organizations that post this information. There are other organizations that post slates for almost every single election at every level, not just the national level. And it's up to us to introduce our younger folks to those organizations. The League of Black Women Voters posts a slate in almost every election of who they recommend that you vote for. You can read those platforms and then make a decision for yourself. I mean, we're not teaching kids how to look at candidates, for example. You know, we've traditionally voted party politics, and we've seen over time that that doesn't work. And so we need to be teaching people how to look at a candidate and how to make a decision about whether they address their issues or not. But a lot of these groups are there, and we just have not bridged from that civil rights, immediate post-civil rights group up to young people.
And how to run a candidate.
Still working those organizations. They're still, you know, going to each other for advice. As Chip said earlier, that's how we got those kids out of jail. They raised, you know, an obscene amount of money in no time, and those officers are now suing the city in Atlanta. So, you know, that fight, the charges were dismissed, but that young brother has a broken arm and 20 stitches, and now those officers are suing the city. So the fight is not over. And I think part of the frustration with people my age, I'm 51, is that we feel like younger folks are not trying to listen to anything we have to say about methodology.
Let me just jump in real quick. I need to know how many people are going to be helping me on Friday. Can I have hands of how many people are going to be out there? I need like 7 to 10.
What time?
3:30 to 6.
3:30 to 6?
Yep.
Who is Nick? Nick, where do I know you from, Nick?
Nowhere.
I grew up in yes, I do.
Cambridge. You look familiar as well. I grew up in Cambridge.
Yeah, no, but you're like a business owner or something. I know you from something.
Yeah, I mean, I own a restaurant. I did own a restaurant until COVID hit. Now I'm closed. I'm all done.
Which one?
You gotta get a Greatest Minds face mask.
It's up in Lowell.
Yeah,
we called Lowell.
No, wait on the budget from the school.
Okay.
Wait, in Lowell? I know Lowell.
Yeah.
No, but I like that idea that Ms. Freeman said. She said that like how to pick a candidate. But see, this in what to look for when you pick a candidate. Now, I think we just need to be able to start implementing.
Hold on 1 second. I just got to get my people for Friday. Tia, I got you with me, Tia, on Friday.
I actually have a speaking engagement in Washington, D.C., so I am not going to be there, but I will send some people out there. I'll tell you who.
All right. Anybody else who got me?
I'm in, Chip. Nick.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just to come out, just show your body, face, all that other stuff.
Did you get those names,
come for the first hour.
That's good.
I can come for the first hour.
Damon already signed you up. Damon already signed you up. Too bad.
I might drive and be
where?
Yeah.
Where at, Chip?
It's going to be Grove Hall, right between where Flames is. That's where we're going to meet up at.
3:30 to 6?
Yeah.
I'll see you at 5 something.
Thank you. That's great. I'll hit everybody.
Flames?
Winter Junior, we're going to need your help, Winter Junior.
At Flames?
Right we're gonna meet in that alleyway, right at Flames.
I'm gonna bring a sign that says Knucklehead Lives Matter.
Wow.
They do matter. They do matter.
That's a Dan Conley joke. Y'all don't know that.
Yeah, right.
I'll come through.
All right.
Chip, just a quick question on this one. Do you want just adults, or you want me to bring kids, or what are you thinking about?
Everybody, anyone,
Right.
so welcome to come. All right.
All right, let me see if my kids want to come with me then.
Everybody.
But real quick, since we got him here, we're coming kind of closer. Before you got off, we was trying to ask you, some of these the kids from the 17 to the 24, 25 range, do they care what's going on if we have something to say? Or like, what's the real mental state? And I'm gonna let you know, since this is your first time around this group, since you're not talking about yourself, you're talking about what comes, from other people. Please be completely clairvoyant. Don't hold back. Keep it 100. All right?
Well, I feel like I know certain people who really care about it, who really trying to be all a part of it, and I know another group who just letting it come as it go. Hopefully it'll override by itself, get fixed by itself. They don't want to really do nothing, but I know plenty more amount of people who want to do stuff, who are actually trying to be in the streets, who are doing protests, who are actually signing up for what's it called? For petitions, all that stuff. So I feel like it's 50-50, and the people who don't really want to do so because they don't know, they don't have enough information, or some are just that stubborn, they don't want to listen.
Yeah, because we talked about that before when it says, someone said, some people do want to reach out and listen, but if they do want to listen and they're willing to be guided, what's going to be the catalyst to transmit that, or what's going to be the thing to nab them, to make them say, hey, come on, let's do this, listen to this, or what type of leader will they follow if we're going to try to give them some information about life, just life in general, let alone about all the issues that we deal with, but life, how to go about life, how to vote, how to take care of yourself, how to take care of your house. What do you think a way would be for us to be able to transmit that information or bring them in so that we can get
hopefully, I got there's Elijah's on the phone. Also, there is Joel on the phone and Winter on the phone. So if you all three can unmute your phones real quick,
that'd be great.
Catchment of 17 to 29.
That'd be great.
All three y'all unmute your phone.
Well, I think a good place to start, certainly, since you're still in the midst of all these protests, we need to create a protest workshop. What are the postures in a protest? What are the things that have to be set up behind the scenes? What are the things that happen on the ground? What are the debriefing things that have to happen afterwards? I think that needs to be like a 2-hour either Zoom workshop or in-person workshop that we can roll out over and over and over again. I think that's really important. Sort of those life lesson things that we as older folks want to impart to young people. I mean, I teach high schoolers every day, and you kind of have to sneak that in on the sly, right? I spend a lot of time in the cafeteria and hanging out before school and hanging out after school, and kids dropping into my office all times of the day. And those are the moments when I can have life lessons conversations with kids. But I think that we know that kids are going to tweet, they're going to Facebook, they're going to Snapchat, they're going to get out into the streets for these protests. We need to teach them how to do that responsibly. And in some cases, the digital stuff I'm learning myself right now. So if we have somebody who's really strong at that, particularly if there's a young person who's good at that, then they need to have a workshop about digital activism and how to do that efficiently. And then we need to have how to do physical protests, how to do economic protests, all of those kinds of things, so that we can really hit it from all the different areas.
Well, the question is, if you build it, will they come? That's the question.
And how can we bring them in?
So
yeah, they will. Reach out.
Winter, Joel, and Eli, if he's still on here, can you guys just share what you're thinking, what's going on with the young people in your generation and people that you talk to and seen protesting?
Hello?
Yep, go for it, Joel.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Let me mute my phone. My name is Joel. I joined in a little late. Just finished doing some work. But I've been trying to get active in some of the protests themselves. I've met with Chip a couple of times, and before that, I went with some of my roommates. But the only way we had contact of it, at least for me, was actually seeing it. Chip, he actually sent out the notifications so I can jump in and join. But the first protest I went to was we saw it on the street and we walked down. Um, right now, I believe the protest is it's coming on social media to the point where it's um, falling on the lower end of trending. And the sad part about the lower end of trending is that the companies which actually run these social media outlets will go for what is making the money. And if the protests kind of die down, they're going to push it to the next thing because, especially on the internet, there's a very short term memory for everyone on there. And it's kind of definitely goes against what's going on here, which is, well, at least for me, in my opinion, it has to be much more than social media because in that regard, you take control of what's being said and how it's being said instead of when it's being said, which is influenced by social media. At least that's how I'm speaking from my experience from it. Some of my other
No,
friends.
can you tell people what you do at Georgia State University, what your role is, and what kind of work that you're doing now, and what kind of motion capture, and also what movies are you working on, so people just kind of know what your background is right now.
So I'm a senior at coming this next semester. I'll be becoming a senior at Georgia State. I've been working in the virtual production environment. I've worked on a couple AAA films at Pinewood Studios in Atlanta, and some in Hollywood as well. Um, I primarily focus on technology. I'm the lead engineer at Georgia State's CMII, one of their newest buildings out there for
Tell them what
technological
CMII
advancement.
is. You gotta give it.
Creative Media Industries Institute. So it's a incubator slash institution where we teach students how to grasp technology, such as behind me, I have one of the motion capture suits, some motion capture and facial capture technology, things like that. And I mean, and I like to add this. I know it's kind of relates to the subject we're on to. I'm the only African American in that building doing this, which is one of the sad concerns about this. Trying to branch it out to other African American, other people in general, because literally the workforce is white males, and I'm definitely the youngest. Everyone's 30 and above. And
That's not sad. You're a trailblazer. You're a trailblazer. Don't be sad about that. Bring in everybody behind you. Lead the way. That ain't sad. That ain't sad at all.
And also,
keep the door open.
I recommended him for a big award at Georgia State, and he won. So I'm very proud of him for winning the Royal Flame Rising Junior
I do
Award.
want to add right now. I know there's a lot of other young African Americans in this chat itself. I don't know how many of you guys are interested in doing this type of stuff, but I've started a company with about 9 or 10 of my other friends, which we actually produce content, which we have a few sponsorships. This sounds like an advertisement, but one of the things, I'm still in that group. I've only have 4 of African American descent, and I don't even get started on the female representation inside the industry. It's on both sides, regardless of race. It's very low. But the thing about it is, this is the high-paying end of like the spectrum, and they're keeping it segregated. And one of the things for me, I didn't even know about it because it's one of those things where I don't see my people in it, so I stay away from it. And what it kind of came down to it one day, I was like, I'm gonna just try it out, jump in it myself, and jumped over to that. But
How did you get into it?
Well, hold on real quick. Can you also, he wants to know how you got into it, but also tell what movies you just worked on last summer.
So I've worked on the TV series Stargirl. I know that's out right now, and then Suicide Squad 2 coming out next year as well. And to answer your question, Mr. Sunday, I got into it basically. So I'm a very, very, very avid gamer. But one day, I just didn't like the video games because they're just the same recycled stuff. So I wanted to try to change that up, and I started to jump around and figure out how to get into the game engines themselves. Got into trouble a few times, but it was all digital trouble. So I mean, you could still go to jail for a long time for that. But I mean, it was like not I wasn't hacking people or anything like that. You know, nothing in that regard. But it took.
Is there a file on you, sir?
Somewhere in the internet, I'm sure there is. I know my internet profile name has been marked down for a couple of things, but it's been a long climb, especially being African American. But I will say it's worth the climb. It's worth the effort. So I mean, it took me about 5 years to get to where I am. And about 2 to 3 of those years, I actually had help from other people. So,
what was that like, as far as the help from other people to get yourself on the way?
so George, he was my first African American mentor.
My name is George, and it's in Georgia, by the way.
Yeah, and George. I mean, that's
Jr.,
how I met him, as George. Because I'll never forget when people started calling him Chip, and I was like, "What the heck? Why are you guys calling him that?" You know. And then I found the fun connotation. But one of the things, especially in this industry, how to keep it niche. Like the person who taught me, he's your definition of Southern white boy, right?
Okay.
And the reason why he looked at me and he's like, "Yo, you're a 19-year-old kid. I always wanted to do this stuff when I was 19 years old. You have the drive, this, that, and the other." And he didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth. He went through the rough, like he grew up in a town of 40 people. You know, he grew up in the roughness, and we had that kind of connection. Like I didn't grow up in a town of 40 people, but I grew up in bad conditions because of my skin. So, and then that little connection was made, and that's where I got my training from. But one of the major things I see in it is like everyone the people who get mentored are usually people of their own color, you know, because it's definitely an anomaly, me and him, which it shouldn't be, but it definitely was. And shifting over.
So Winter,
to
I hope
today.
Winter Junior, this is where you're going to school at next year, sir. All right. Once you come, you're gonna have him. He's gonna get you all the other jobs he can't take. You hear me, Winter Junior?
I had a question for Joe. I had a question for Joe.
But also, Ralph, I want you to go. But also, Elijah and Jabril are here. My cousin Elijah and Jabril, say hello. And Elijah, that's why I screamed at you to join. And Jabril knows why I made you change your major to go into CMII. Because that's what all the
All right.
Hey,
Everybody
one
put your
last question for
IG in the
Joe.
messages.
One
Put your
last
IG
question
in
for
the
Joe,
messages.
real quick. So you know how you got help.
Let me ask something, Joel, real quick. Joel, are you involved with any of the groups that are here in Atlanta, as far as media groups? Any of the unions? Student union?
So in Georgia, there aren't. So the closest thing I can get to a union is the electricians union.
We have.
The reason why I'm asking, because I could forward you some unions that are here that are student based that you can get involved in. Like for instance, the television and film union that's here, the 479. I can get you involved with that. That's another great union to get involved in, which they have a variety of different departments that you can concentrate in as far as for film sets. So that's one aspect, because I know within the next maybe 10 years, Atlanta's going to be unionized.
Yeah.
Really?
I wouldn't count on that. If I were you. Right to work,
Really?
and they're as serious
Yeah.
about being that way as you guys are about being union.
My
White folks ain't going there.
My friend was
Well, I work in the field. I'm just saying that within the next trajectory, within the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to start going that way.
Good backup. It's good
I
backup.
hope so.
But
Even if it doesn't-
but
even if it
Joel,
didn't happen,
I'm gonna give you my if I could finish, Joel, I'm gonna go with I guess in the inbox. I'll give you my information. There's quite a few unions I would love to not just unions but just film groups where there's not a lot of African American or women representation. Like there's the SMPTE group that's here in Atlanta that deals with just primarily just television. But so I'll send you my information. And I'll try to, or we can connect. I'm here in Atlanta. That's all I had to say.
Okay.
It's
See,
good
I'm
backup.
asking.
It's good backup in networking, no matter what happens or doesn't happen. It's always good, you know what I'm saying, to get more backup.
My last
I
question
agree.
to you,
People
Joel, was
also
just
put their IG. Can people also put their IGs in here?
Yes.
I want to go, Elijah and Winter, I want to give you guys the floor for the next 5 minutes, and then we will close out. Just to let everyone know, Sunday is our next meeting, and we'll break into different, I know on here you can break up into groups, so you can do that as well. So, Elijah, you want to say something?
We're here.
Winter, bring us
I'm
home?
here.
Go for it.
I'm here right here. Can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, how you guys doing? Yeah, I'm Elijah Haynes. What's that? A what? Oh, sit still. I'm in the store. My fault, y'all. Okay, so yeah, my name is Elijah Haynes. I'm an author. I'm a writer. My own books. I'm a music artist, and I'm a media entrepreneurship major. And I remember you asked a question, but I didn't hear it that well. I was in the car, and the connection acted a little funny. Did you say something about social media and how you asked a social media question?
I know that I asked, like, as far as people in your age range, how would we bring multiple people in your age range to listen to the things that's gonna help them be prepared for the things that are happening now and the things that are gonna happen for yesteryear and what's gonna happen for the rest of this year, that want to listen, or do they want to listen at all? What's your take on it? Or on what other people think as well in your age range?
So for my age range, and as far as making people go in a certain direction, I feel like people need to be scared of going in the opposite direction, which is happening right now. I feel like with all the protesting and the reason for people protesting, Black people obviously being killed by the police. There's videos that go viral of it everywhere. But the thing that I feel like we should make our videos with music behind it that are somewhat sad, because things that are sad, they trigger your emotions. Then they make you want to listen. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, that's how things affect me. I can't really necessarily speak for everybody, but I know that for myself. When something strikes some kind of fear or sadness in my heart, it's like, oh my goodness. And especially if it's about something that pertains to me, like my skin. And there's a lot of Black people who's my age. And that I honestly deleted social media this whole month. I haven't been on Instagram or Snapchat for a month. So a lot of the stuff that's going on social media, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I just watch CNN. And that's how I know what's going on. But I feel like you need to make montages with music behind them, stating what needs to happen and why it should happen, that are real and raw.
Do anybody that you know that's in your immediate circle or people that know your immediate circle that's in your age range, do they even think about moving in government and trying to grab government positions?
Not that I know of.
And why don't you think they're thinking that way? If some of them think about change, if we know that in those seats hold the power, why wouldn't they want to do it? Is it because there's no message that says that, or?
It could be because there's no message that says that. It could be because it's not easy. It's not easy, and I've never figured out how to get into that. It's not known how to go there. I don't believe where to start. Like where would I start if I want to be the governor? I don't even know. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's known.
So my thing is, do you think it's easier to become a rapper or to become a city councilor? Because if you want to be governor, if you start off as city councilor, work your way into another seat in the city, work your way into another seat in the state, and you do well, you could become governor. But which one? But at least if you know enough people, you can grab votes and you become that city councilor, and you can move things around. That's one way. But I just want to know, with me giving you that information, you know the information about being an artist, which one you think is easier, becoming a successful rapper or a successful person in government?
I would say a successful person in government would be definitely much harder. Definitely much harder.
Because of
the work you have to put into yourself and self-promotion. It's just like, I mean, to be an artist, you kind of almost have to do something similar. You got to promote yourself. You know what I mean? If you want to be known and successful, you have to market yourself. And that's exactly what people in politics do before they get anywhere higher. You know what I mean? But they're almost all rappers. I can't say almost all, but yes, almost all rappers are black.
Could I add
People in government are almost all white. So I think visually it could be discouraging visually. Did you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, it could
Can
be
I
visually.
ask you something, Elijah, afterwards?
Go ahead, ask.
Now, my question is just this. So, you guys see what's going on, right? And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you know about the civil rights movement and stuff, right?
Yes.
You guys ever think about the fact that back then they had less freedoms than we have right now, and they sacrificed way more than we're sacrificing right now, so that we can be where we are right now, right? So,
Yeah.
what are we doing right now that's going to work for the next 50 years for the people who are going to look like us in the future? Do you guys ever think about
Do you
that?
think that far ahead?
And if you do, what do you guys see as far as the steps for change to happen? You guys have like a through line from today and from things being how you guys expect it to be, or do you guys completely like give up on that?
Well, I feel like some of this is our fault as a generation, right? Like as a Spanish teacher, one of the things that I do is I show my students that most of the revolutionary movements, particularly across Latin America, which happens to look like us, by the way, was started by kids, teenagers. Thousands of kids were killed across Latin America in protest. And so this notion that people like us aren't out there making change, I'm too young to make change, it just isn't true. Which means that we're not telling the stories right to this generation to let them know that wherever you want to join the struggle, there is always a place and there's always been a place.
If that's true, right? Then I challenge everyone here. If we're saying that we're failing, if we failed a bit, being able to lead the way for the young people to come in here and know what time it is and start the run for change, I challenge everybody in here that everyone in here knows somebody that has somebody or knows somebody that's in that age range, from that 17 to 28 range. For when it comes down to Sunday, I challenge everyone in here to bring 2, minimum 2. That means shoot for 20, and then you'll get 2. Talk to 20 and get them to say yes, even if you know they're lying to your face. But get them to say yes, I'll come to the next meeting on Sunday, and that's how it's going to start. If we fail, the failure stops now.
I agree with that totally.
I agree. I think that that's the message I spoke about an hour ago. I had to step out, and some of you were on, some of you weren't. The last 2 marches I've spoken, it is all about educating and advocating and listening to our young people, letting them do this and giving them the platform. So we did that in my town. It was led by young people who are now coming to me and saying, thank you for giving me that opportunity to speak and for always raising our voices, letting us raise our voice. So I think that we can do that. And I feel like in my generation, one of my friends said to her daughter, that we let you down because we weren't vocal enough.
Real quick, whoever's at the cashier, try to hit the mute button until you're ready to speak.
That's Elijah, though. I want him to answer the question. He's the one I was talking to, him and Winter. Him, Winter, and Joe, actually.
Oh, wait, hello? Guys, my phone's on 1. If it disconnects, it's because it died.
Yeah, and then Winter, I want you to be able to close out, Winter Jr., close out what your thoughts are for the next steps. And then I want to, the next half an hour is just, the meeting will be over, but it's just people sharing their own thoughts if people want to stay on. Go for it. Winter Jr., you got anything to say?
So I completely agree with Elijah and Joel. Like, our generation is surrounded by social media. All we do is go on social media. We look on social media. There's stats. Spend all the time on social media. So I feel like if it's in your face, then kids our age are gonna listen. They're gonna try and do something about it because no one agrees with what's going on. We need reform. So I feel like if it's in their face, they will do it.
Hello.
We gotta bring it to them.
Are y'all able to hear me?
Yep. Hold on. Real quick, I'm gonna have you go right after 17. Nav, do you have anything else you want to get out your son to say anything to everybody? Because you know his. Nav, you know what?
Let me just ask you. When everybody talk about defunding the police, what do you think would happen if we defund the police? And do you think it's called for?
I think one of the first things that comes to people's mind when you say defund the police means, at least to me, it's like reduce the police force, right? And I don't believe that's the right image because, I mean, I've been on Twitter, I've been swiping down from time to time, and I hear people saying defund the police, and I see like a funny meme of like the police force just with a stick and some regular clothes, something like that. When in reality, I think it's more people don't understand how much funding the police actually has, where they can have an outfit of 50 people armed to the teeth like they're about to go and attack a village to quell protesters. And I think it's kind of more of a, I'm not seeing exactly what the funding is to begin with. So when they say defunding, they're thinking they're defunding something that's already little, but they don't understand how much funding is already there to begin with.
Well, I think since Minneapolis is the first city who's already beginning to take some very concrete steps, it's going to happen any minute here in Minneapolis. It is already at the city council for their vote. And so as we're having this conversation about what does defunding look like, I think we have to go deep and look at what is Minneapolis proposing. And so maybe we need to get some of that documentation. That's a matter of public record now, as far as what they're proposing. One of the things
civilian public safety.
One of the things that we saw immediately happen, for example, here is that the University of Minnesota uses a lot of police for after-hour services, and they immediately came out and said, no longer will they do that. The Park Service in Minneapolis did the same thing. The public school systems did the same thing. So all of those organizations and entities are huge sources of revenue for the police department. So that was some other external organizations that have already begun to take concrete steps to take dollars out of the pockets of the police department. So when we talk about defunding, I think that's going to look very different in different places, but it's taking a very specific look here in Minneapolis. It has a face here already.
America is a hyper-militarized country. The issue isn't so much defunding the police as demilitarizing them. I live in a town next to Washington, D.C. called Capitol Heights.
17. I know you didn't introduce yourself, so you got to kind of put yourself in context. Where you from?
My name is Al Smith. I'm a friend of Kalu. I went to college with him. So I decided to call in because I'd like to see some changes. In 2018, I went to the CBC with several members of my lodge, and we presented them a myriad of ideas to kind of help with the issues between law enforcement and African Americans and Hispanic Americans. They sat on that for 2 years, and out of the proposal, they pulled one idea and put it in into Congress. There are other things that they need to be doing to protect the citizens. We're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for people in kente cloth. We're asking them to make laws that hold the police accountable for their behaviors. The truth is, murder is going to happen. People are going to get killed. That's real, right? But if someone gets killed by a police officer, there should be a civilian review of what happened. Everyone should have body cameras on, right? Absolutely. They need to be held accountable. Not every cop is bad, but cops aren't talking, right?
Yep.
I mean, you talk about no snitching, and cops ain't snitching, right? So it's either going to go one of two ways. Because if you kill my son, I'm not going to let that shit go. Okay?
Got that right.
I'm just not.
Got that right.
I got 4 years. They were cool. I'll make the sacrifice, right? So at some point, either we're going to bump heads with them, or they're going to tone it down and try community policing. They're going to walk through the neighborhoods and know the people. You know, they're going to stop pulling up in Humvees. The town I live in has 6 Humvees parked up the street. 6 Humvees. For what? Who are you crashing into? The town has 20,000 residents, and it's a suburb of DC. There's literally been one murder in 25 years, right? Those are just cars. We're not talking about the fact that they show up looking like stormtroopers all the time. We have to demilitarize the police. We can't have every kid feeling that every time they come across the police, it's run or shoot, because that's really what it is. Like I came up in Mattapan, you know what I'm saying? Run and shoot is how I felt when I saw a cop. You know, like.
So
it's more about redirecting, I think. If we talk about redirecting the funding instead of taking away the funding, basically
that's what they mean,
though. Towards that reform where you say, you know what, if you shoot somebody and they die or don't die, if you didn't have your camera on, then you are automatically suspected that you was an assailant and not working within the accordance of the law. If you take that extra funding, that instead of making them an army, all right, you refund that funding into a weekly training on how to handle things, period. And you take some of that funding and you do what you said and get that civilian board that are made up of, you know, right. Basically, you have your parameters of how to choose if they're righteous or not. But I do like that idea as well.
Cheryl and then Jamal, just for a response. Jamal, because he's done working that 2U17.
So Jamal can probably also speak to this too. So with the DJ Henry case, friends of mine and from my neighborhood, when that went to, there was one police officer that did speak up and say that Aaron Hess was guilty, that he never should have discharged his weapon, and he was squashed. So when the police tried to step up and say, my fellow police officer was wrong, they get knocked down, they're not able to do it. So the Henrys are now reopening the case for it to be tried the way it should have been to begin with. So that's another problem with the oppression within their own system. Don't speak. So that's just the only thing I want to add. Like, there are some that have tried to come forward. In Boston now, I work at Cristo Rey in Boston, and my students are all over the city. And I have students that are literally so traumatized right now because of the military presence outside of their homes during the riots last week. They are trauma on top of trauma, that they can't even focus on their finals. And we're trying to make accommodations because it's real. It's not I don't want to take it because I don't feel like it. It's I can't sleep at night. I'm hearing bullets in my head. Miss, I can't focus. So I say, that's okay, you don't have to. Talking to the parents that are trying to struggle with this, how do we deal with that? And we say, you have to trust the police. There's a person in uniform outside your door, but there's also, they're macing someone. How do we tell these children, you don't have to worry? We can't tell them that.
Jamal, you want to respond to some of those comments? I know you're more have more research in this area than I do.
Yeah, so I just want to say quite simply that a lot of the stuff, once again, what we're talking about is already in the mix. So it looks like all of a sudden, of course, all the things that we've been talking about for 10, 15 years, now everybody's like, oh, okay. So it looks like police decertification is going to go down at the state level. It looks like civilian review board is going to go down at the city level. How those things get played out, you know, that's a whole nother situation. And who leads that conversation is a whole nother conversation. So I've done about as much as I can, but my experience just leads me to believe that whatever, I can only speak for me, whatever I have done, you know, they may or may not go that route. And even if it looks like that they're going in that direction, they may not still arrive at, you know what I mean, what we want them to arrive at. But we're closer now than we ever were before. The other thing I just want to say is that too, for me, we have to get away from, once again, it's this whole Boston Strong mythology. Like, one, we don't have a problem here. People are still not aware of like the deaths and all these types of things that we've had here, and you know the stuff that we've already pushed for. And two, like, even how many of us, you know, we were so filled with pride to get our first ever Black police commissioner, right? And now we've all seen across the country, you've seen white police commissioners from East Chucklefuck, Nebraska, taking off their helmets and kneeling and, you know, hands up and all this shit. And here we got our black police commissioner up here, and this dude just said Blue Lives Matter.
When did he say that?
Yeah, at the press conference on City Hall Plaza. What was that now? 4 or 5 days ago. So it was one of the big press conferences. Him, Marty, the one with him, the mayor, and Rachel Rollins, the one with them all together.
I heard him denounce the officer in Minneapolis. He said, "I'm not even gonna call him an officer." I heard that part. I didn't hear him say the Blue Lives.
Right. Well, once again, you gotta listen more better.
You're right. If that's what happened, you're right.
And not for nothing too.
It's basically all in the wordplay.
Hold on, and stop. No, I'm sorry, because I'm gonna end. And not for nothing too. And let's rewind. As soon as he got appointed, inaugurated, what have you, his first comments were against the DA. Then it was the judges. Then it was the judges again.
I remember that. Mm-hmm.
No, so this is a repetitive trove, and what we don't understand too is that this is age-old police against the judges, police against the DAs. We're not the problem. We lock them up. We lock the animals up. We lock them up. They let them out. So it goes back to this old lock them up mentality and all this. And y'all have to understand this because we have our first black police commissioner in Boston who is a machine of this. That's what he spits out. So we need to put that in the mix too. But yes, at the end of the day too, once again, Dr. Doom, my last comments are gonna be, we are doomed. I do not have a great hope that we're really gonna get it together. I don't think that the youth, by and large, are gonna get it together because they are the one thing that the one thing that I know that most of them need is the one thing that they are allergic to, which is research and study. So
yep, that's a fact.
Okay, so if I tell you you need to check this out and you refuse to, I can no longer help you, and I will not spend time on it either. Now, not for nothing too, let me ask y'all this. When the revolution comes, at the end of the day, I cannot base my survival on whatever the hell y'all do. I don't know if you watch, Walking Dead and all this type of thing, but if the zombie apocalypse comes, what you gonna do? Do you have a gun? Do you have canned tuna fish? Do you know how to shoot your gun? Do you know how to aim? Because at the end of the day, some of us are not playing this no justice, no peace, Black Lives Matter, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I don't got time for it. I am and I have been what I was trained with, which is revolutionary preparedness. Be prepared. I'm done.
You mind if not that crazy? He's not that crazy. He's not that crazy. Remember when you do that, when you talk about the zombie thing, all zombies are people that are sick, that are just rushing at you. They don't know why, because they're sick. If you get enough of a sickness in you, all you're going to do is run around here and be like, oh, help me, help me, help me, right? So that's why I live on the top floor. I live on the top floor and I can shoot from all angles. I shoot 39 out of 40. I am a expert shooter from the military. But I will also say this: please let's prove him wrong. And on Sunday, everybody bring minimum of two young people in here that show that they gonna give a damn. Let's let's prove him wrong. And I think Jamal would be astounded as well as very well pleased if we did prove him wrong. I think he's looking forward to it.
I had a question for Navi.
Yes.
So you said you're in the military, correct?
I was. I'm out.
So one of the things I think is a little disconnect. I'm turning on my fan. Is the standards that are held between two armed forces. For example, a military individual is held at a much higher stake on punishment when, let's say, a firearm goes off in the wrong place, compared to a police officer where the guns are out the second they get scared. And I believe that is a direct comparison where we can see here that the prosecutions, aka the punishments that police officers don't have to face, are a result on the actions that they're pushing towards African Americans, Americans in general. And I just saw that similarity between it, because it's like some in the military can accidentally, I think it's a 15-6, I don't know exactly the number for it, but can accidentally discharge a weapon in an area it's not supposed to be discharged, and they can be kicked out for that. Like you're done. And in America, you can kill someone and then, oh dang, well let's let them talk and get mad for a couple months, and then we'll let you free, and then pretend like nothing happened.
And I'm glad you said that.
Great point. Great point.
There's a thing called the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, and with the UCMJ, they don't play. All right, that's just what it is, you know. And a lot of people, I've gotten slack about being in the military and all that other stuff. We have racism in the military, just like how it is everywhere. But for the most part, because of the ideals that we believed in that not necessarily exist, but a lot of people, it sticks with them because they're forced to teach that certain ideals. You're not black, you're white, we're all green. You know what I'm saying? So
I just actually recommended the military. I just actually recommended them to adopt more of a close or a military model for what happens with police discipline. But the only failure of military discipline is when it comes to sexual shit and women.
Absolutely.
And
I was just getting to that.
That shit disappears.
I was just getting to that.
And another thing too,
overseas war crimes.
And not just overseas. I'm talking about the women in the military.
Here too.
Oh
Here
yeah,
too.
yeah. Listen, and the other thing is also too, I also too know of other things that happen with, like, let's say you in the unit and you the kind of the black revolutionary guy, but then you know y'all do a training or something and then you wind up missing or something. There's also too, the military has a lot of like unresolved, investigated.
And that has to do with just like in the ranks of the police department or government, regardless of the ideals, you're gonna have bad people in it. Like I've talked to Commissioner Gross too, and I told him, hey, just like how you have bad people at Target that they try to mess your day up, they shouldn't have that job. You know that there's bad people in every single police force that should not have that job. And the same thing, and he agreed, but there's the same thing happens when in the military. So not everybody in the military was raised right by their mama or daddy or their neighbor, you know, and some people were raised right. So that's what the key is. So the only way we're gonna it's not gonna get rid of in the next 20 years or whatever. Our main thing is we gotta focus on as many young people coming up so they get those ideals and they pass them along.
And take the best parts and the best practices, whatever we can find.
Absolutely.
I want to jump in. I want to say something. I think that it's a simple solution that we have more beat cops the way we used to when we were kids. You know, cops always walking around the neighborhoods. I think that's the problem right now is we have nothing like that. All we have is these hyper-militarized police departments. And if we have people actually in the neighborhood, you know, when I was a kid, I knew all the cops' names in my neighborhood because all my friends were getting arrested and I wasn't, because I was the one white kid there. They were like, I know your dad, go home, as my friends were getting thrown in the car. So that's the thing that sucks, right? But I think that having these people, having these beat cops would solve a lot of these issues. Maybe I'm crazy, I might be altruistic here, but I really feel that that's a big thing. We don't have that now. Thank you.
People have been saying that for a long time. You're right.
Yeah, but no one talks about the finance of the whole situation, right? Why do cops get off? They have a union, right? What do unions do? They pull all the money that these cops pay in dues, right, to pay for these high-priced lawyers who get them off. So how do you fix the system where that lawyer, like right now, he's dealing with a high-priced lawyer, right? And the union is not going to go against their members when they get the money from their members. That's what it is. And with the police officers in America, since what, 2000, they've been losing police officers because no one wants to be a police officer. So what you end up having is the BS people who don't really make the mark kind of have to get pushed in, kind of like the whole leave no kids behind philosophy, right? So you end up having these essentially juiced up dudes who don't have anything else, who just get into the profession and then end up in that same gang mentality of the union where it's like, okay, we're a member, we protect our own. We might have to go through some stuff to protect our own, but we don't break silence and we don't break code.
Accredited civilian review board. That's the key. An accredited civilian review board that they have to listen to, that the courts have to defer to. It has to be entered into law that when something happens, it has to go under the review board, and based on what the review board says, that'll be the suggestion of what happens in the court.
So that's about to happen. That's about to happen.
I want to close out this meeting for people, but there is a group meeting where you can continue the conversation. We have another half an hour for open discussion and dialogue. Jamal, you can kick it off right now. I'm going to go get my sandwich. Go ahead. Go for it.
Is it the after hours?
What kind of sandwich, Chip? No, what kind of sandwich, Chip?
It's salad.
A ham sandwich? You better not even ask him that. It's a ham sandwich.
Mine's after dark.
We want to see the sandwich, Chip.
It's a salad.
I don't hear no music. Where the music at?
It's a double
Where
salad.
I got you covered. I got you.
After dark? You slack.
I got you covered.
All right. So we got a half an hour. People, please jump in and just share other comments as well. Go for it.
Hey, Dan, are you on there? Dan Jordan, are you on here still?
Yo, what up, man?
How's it
Yes,
going?
I was trying to get into the group me. How you doing? I'm Dan Joyner. I'm from Lexington, Massachusetts, but I know Kalu's brother. I went to school with him, and so I'm very blessed that he invited me in. I just want to thank you. And the reason why we connected again is I'm part of a group of Black citizens in Lexington who are trying to once again increase the diversity and hiring and racial equity in many areas. So with Lexington Public Schools, the police department, this has been tried in the past, and they've slowly, whitened things up again. And so now we're using this moment to invigorate those efforts to try to get more diversity out here in Lexington.
I went to Lexington Christian Academy at 48 Bartlett Avenue. Call me when you ready to burn that bitch down.
Oh, my Lord. Hold up. What, a school? We can't burn school.
We can burn that one.
No. We'll fight in the streets, Jamal. I don't go for no burning the schools or looting schools with these idiots doing out there.
We can burn Lexington Christian Academy, trust me.
But Dan, you also expressed that you were looking for teachers.
Yes, diversity in hiring and also on the administrative level. Those are two of our focuses.
I think you need to look at funding for teacher ed programs, because right now it's taking, if like you start as a freshman in college, it's still going to take you 5 years to get your teacher ed program, and you can't work that 5th year. You're substituting for free. So we got to come up with some incentives for people to go into teaching. One of the things that I think we're going to have this conversation. I mean, if I have to go back to work, it'll be July 14th, more than likely, physically, if I have to be there. But we've got to get the technology in our kids' hands and internet access to our kids now.
That's the great equalizer.
Now, not later. They have no technological skills other than Snapchat and Instagram and texting. We have got to teach them the basics of computing, and we've got to make sure that they have reliable access to technology now. I think this first semester, depending on where you are, will either be completely virtual or a hybrid, but access to technology must happen immediately before the fall.
How to build it.
We got to hit up these companies like Google and Apple and Microsoft and say, you got to get these one kid to one tablet. I mean, and honestly, I think tablets are ridiculous. I think we need to go, everybody needs a laptop.
Awful.
Then the next thing we need to do is hit the cable companies. And if you have a school age kid, you need to have adequate internet access, not this janky half-speed internet stuff. And if you can't get it in their house, get a hotspot to every kid. It cannot be an obstacle. I think we are at the point where we have to be talking about municipal internet access. If you're paying taxes in a city, you're within the city limits, you should have internet access. We've got to come up with a way.
The biggest struggle is all of our kids already have, we give them ThinkPads, they give them laptops. So our kids already have that. but a lot of them go back and forth to different houses. So when they get to one house, they might not have the same internet access they do at the other house, or they're helping their sister babysit because sister has to go to work and she's got 2 little ones, and sister's husband is working. So we've created every school should have it free for their kids and ready to go. We've had to scramble and figure out what's the hotspot where we're going to give them, how we give this kid access, and what's the backup. It's not just the access, but what's the backup for when the lines
No,
go down?
we got to have these conversations. We got to have these conversations with the tech people. There is a way to make this happen, and we've got to make these tech companies put it up. Period. We've got to.
What school do you work for? I'm sorry, Daniel, you talked about it. Daniel Joyner, what school do you work for?
I know. Actually, I work for Qualcomm, which is a technology company. But the coalition of Black citizens in Lexington are working with the committee, superintendent, really trying to push these initiatives. So I'm part of that that committee. I'm part of that association.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I wanted to kind of speak on the internet thing because I believe it's one of those systematic racist things. So when I bought this house, one of the main problems I found here, I'm kind of more into I'm in the I would say the bad part of College Park, but not the best part of College Park. The ISPs don't run lines over here. It's like, if you think about it, it's and I want to say it's because of the redlining that was done, but they don't run the lines over here for you to get better internet. How I had to create my own network and everything. I had to spend at least a week just trying to get it so I can have internet good enough for the activities that I do. It's one of those things where I mean, I forgot.
Access it right now?
So from
Joe,
how I have my
house, Joe.
say again.
You just bought a house, or your mother bought
In
a house?
January.
You bought a house?
Southwest Atlanta is chronic for bad internet
Joe, give me
and
the
mobile
bathroom. I'm moving
service.
in. Thank you.
Chronic.
You should have never told Chip that he's coming.
Moving
He's
tomorrow.
coming. Get his
Packing
room
up
ready.
now.
He coming.
How much? Yeah, we ain't gonna ask you how much the house costs unless you want to tell us.
Pack it up now, Joe. I'll see you in an
I
hour.
can tell you I can tell you the value of it. I won't tell you the price I paid for it.
Smart man.
Now the value is $300,000 in
Yeah.
the neighborhood I'm in. So
The good news is your internet's about to get better because I heard T.I. and Killer Mike are working on it. So
yes. So I was
Jamal,
that was a joke, by the way.
Look at Joel. Mike is.
Can you answer the question, man? That was a serious question. How do you access internet right now with the situation you have?
So with how I access internet itself, I'm working with Xfinity right now, and they have their they're horrible, but you can mess with their stuff to make it better for yourself.
Yes, you
So
can.
when they bring in their wire, they're like, oh, take our box, use our box, this, that, and the other.
Don't.
Exactly, don't. So I set up a Netgear, and then that Netgear actually goes because the cables receives both ways, right? It's not just sending; you can also send information back to it. So it's kind of one of those things where this is not a high priority neighborhood. Everybody here has our box, our with AT&T. So the maximum you're going to get is probably 20 megabytes up. 20 megabytes down. With the plan I have here, I'm pulling a gig down and I'm putting 500 up right now.
Wow.
I could go into the specifics of how it's done, but it's like
But it's routed a couple of times inside the router, right?
So it's routed in the router, but you also have to change some of the Netgear settings on what's being pulled in at the same time. But some of the stuff I learned at the CMI building, which is something that's not accessible to people of my skin color. I'll tell you this much: when I was learning it, I was surrounded by I don't want to sound racist, but I was surrounded by white guys. Okay, so
Come do mine, please. Thank you.
That's factual. That's factual. That's not racist. That's factual.
But can we also move the discussion real quick in the part about what is the role? I mean, Jamal brought up T.I. and Killer Mike and rappers and singers. What is their role in the movement right now, and how can we help them redefine? Because, let me tell you, the students here down
Their
here
role already worked
down here, and I'll let them all go. But they got on the mic and said, you know what, Killer Mike, you know what, you wrong, 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 wrong. And they were like, first of all, change your name. You need to have a grown-up name. That's what the kids were saying. Second thing, you cannot forget you are representing. You are not representing us right now. You are not representing. But what do you guys, Jamal? I can let you go, and then everyone jump in. The role of rappers and singers and celebrities. Jamal, go
Zero.
for it.
The zero role.
There you
So
go.
long ago, this was already decided. Malcolm X talked about this and said, our celebrities and athletes cannot lead us. The most that they can do is what, if people understand the James Brown story as it was told to me. When James Brown came out with, like, you know, Say It Loud, Black and I'm Proud, and all this type of shit, right? You know, open the door. I don't need ask nobody for nothing. Open up the door, I get it myself. All that was because the revolutionaries had pressed him to say, yo, man, you need to change up your songs. Okay, so that the pressure, the political pressure from the community was like, bruh, we love you, you're great. We like to do the boogie oogie and shake our booty, but we need more from you, bruh. So T.I., Killer Mike, I mean, you know, people like that, this is the problem, and it's what I said before. The youth cannot lead us because the ones who know the least cannot be in the leadership position. Look, fat people are not gonna lead our new black diet, okay? Pacifists are not gonna lead our military defense. Illiterate people are not gonna lead our educational program. You follow what I'm saying? Tyler Perry is not gonna lead our manhood program. You follow what I'm saying? So that we just have to understand that we have to really compartmentalize it and really chop it up so that we are getting the best information and the best suited and booted. Look, this young man already, look, he gonna run the new fiber optic cable. That's on him. You see what I'm saying? He's the new tech guy. We cannot allow people who don't know what they're doing to do what they're doing.
I feel like we got to be really careful about alienating people. I think, you know, part of what's problematic, at least for me, about T.I. and Killer Mike, and I'm in Atlanta, right? So I think we discount them. And at the end of the day, they do a lot that doesn't get publicized, but they also do a lot that does. Now, they may not sound like you want them to sound, but the two of them have put their money where their mouth is at the end of the day.
Sis, I'm sorry. I know both of these guys. I know both of these. I know both of these guys personally.
They built
I'm sorry.
I think I see exactly what the.
No. I'm sorry. I know both of these guys personally. I'm not trying to discount them like that. Black men, family guys, love them. I want to see them successful and healthy and happy. What I tried to be real clear in saying is they cannot be the leaders. They just got conscious yesterday. T.I. cannot be the leader. Killer Mike cannot be the leader. I'm saying they just can't be. And barbershops and youth initiatives and everything else that they're doing, God bless them. No, they cannot be the leaders.
There has to be a different approach.
People have to stand up too. And with leadership comes responsibility and accountability, and we're devoid of that right now.
Okay.
Malcolm X wasn't always Malcolm X. That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
No. But then he became Malcolm X.
He was
Are you saying T.I. is Malcolm X? Are you saying Killer Mike is Malcolm X?
Nah, they're red. They're red and slick.
Why would you even? I mean, I feel like
let's have a discussion. Come on, y'all, talk about it.
On the leadership of the past, and I really think we have to grow and feed the leadership of the present and prepare them for the future. I think it's unfair to call people to be Martin or Malcolm or Medgar or Fanny. I think it's it's impossible to even call everybody.
But it's necessary. It's
How do you
necessary. though.
prepare people for the future who already say they know everything?
No.
T.I. is already saying,
can't
I'm
talk
a
to him.
leader. Killer, no,
can't talk
listen,
to
you
him.
can't. No, you can't. Listen.
All right, can I
Once
say
again,
something?
it's already been done. Our leaders are now appointed for us. So Charlemagne the God is the avant-garde. Black Lives Matter is the avant-garde. People don't even know what we're following.
Well, they don't read. I mean, there's that.
Can I
They're
record
reading
that
nothing.
and send it
They
to
don't
them?
read their own history. They don't
So,
read
Can I
anybody
stand?
else's history either.
Nah,
Can I
but
stand for the youth real quick? I just turned 22 today. Today's my
So,
birthday.
Someone's TV's on.
I wanted
then read it.
Someone's
wanted
TV's
to.
on. They gotta turn it off.
Joel, today's your birthday?
Yes. I
Happy
turned
born day.
Put
I
your
wanted
cash
to-
app. Put your cash app in the messages.
I'd rather
Now.
not. I'd
Do
rather
it
not.
now.
I mean, we live in the world where so
Listen to
much.
your
Man, let
elders.
him speak. Let the young person speak.
I wanted to kind of.
Happy birthday, Joel.
Thank you.
We live
Thank
in a
you.
world where so much of the world is digital now. Like we can read all of this stuff, right?
That's
Lorella,
where
do
it's
you have your
coming from.
TV on?
That's
Someone
what
has their
Joel's
TV
saying.
on.
Listen to Joel.
Someone has their TV on.
I think someone got it turned off. I wanted to speak from the perspective of the youth for a second, if I might. So, in my group of friends, I'm more the outlier because of the ways I think and what I do, because it's not what everyone else does. Now, I don't want to throw my friend under the bus, but I'm gonna bring up my friend Chandler. He's one of my closer friends out here. He's actually moving into the house with me next month.
No, he ain't. I'm moving in. Go ahead.
One of the things I've seen when I show him something new before it gets hip and everything, he's no, that's not hip. I'm not gonna go with it. And then later on, when whatever decides is hip, oh, I'm with it. It's this constant cycle of this because Mr. Crawford,
Don't do that.
I see exactly where.
Mr. Crawford. Oh, you are.
I'm sorry. I learned in a very professional.
You're not that young.
Kids down here are very polite. They're very
My
polite.
name's Jamal, and you can call me Uno the Prophet. Go Google that, sir.
I love this. Go for it.
I can see exactly where he's coming from. Where I wouldn't want Chandler leading me because he doesn't. There's my dad taught me at a very young age. There are leaders and there are followers, and you don't want to put a follower in the position of a leader. And my dad's always taught me to be a leader in that regard. And the thing about a large part of society is followers. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation, but all throughout history, we have the people who lead the people, and then we have the people who follow those leaders. And in the movement we're trying to push through here, the problem is we're not having a lot of leaders step up because of this. When you look at a celebrity, they see them as a leader, when in reality they are following what makes them just. They follow what their consumers want. They follow what gets the money. And I think one of the problems we have to look at in approaching this problem isn't we can't take the same we can't take the same approach that we took 50 years ago because the whole environment changed. We have a person about to be a trillionaire in about 6 months, Jeff Bezos. It's not the same. We're not in the same environment, so we have to change the way we come and do this because the position of power was different than what it is today. The people who hold power they're using media to control it, and we're not attacking media, so they continue to control what the majority of people, aka the followers, are following. And I believe I could see exactly where that approach is, where it's like we can't look for celebrities to lead because they are already in that cog. They're already pushing that agenda.
You're already compromised.
Precisely. They've already come into that.
And
I mean,
I have a problem with following anybody who's in it to make $1. That's just my personal thing. But that's because I'm a socialist, so I'm not in it for the money.
But
that's the culture of the country.
We're approaching this. We're approaching a country which is built on capitalism, but not capitalism as you would think. It's I don't even know if you want to call it capitalism at this point. It's because
it's chronic capitalism.
Then 10, 20 people would hold all the power, and it's there, but the people who benefit from it are nowhere to be seen taking any cons of it, and it's
Joel,
kind of.
I'm looking forward to when you run for office, my man.
I
I'll move
concur
down there with
completely
you.
with Mr. Mack.
Absolutely.
Send your cash app.
I mean, I would. I don't want to be in course. You know, I can see whether you want the Cash App. I don't know. I don't want to get too philosophical, but it's
Your
just for me. I don't
target
like.
list. You just moved into a new house, friend.
Take your blessings. This is what I'm gonna tell you from an OG to a young G. Take your blessings. Send your cash app.
Send it to me,
Listen to
Joel.
your elders.
Just
Say yes, sir.
Joel,
I'll
send
send
it
it
to me on my
down.
text. I'll send it to everybody on the list.
I don't got Cash App, but I might send you a candle or an edible arrangement or something.
Last time I gave some of my Cash App, I got a lot of requests for money. So I really like to.
Welcome to
I'm
the
not saying that's
family.
going to happen here. I'm not saying that's going to happen here. But one of the things, I mean, especially with working in technology, how easy your name and your email or something like that can get compromised. Like if you guys have the chance, this is just I posted in here. You know, put your email in this website called Have I Been Pwned, and you can see exactly how many data compromises you have on your email address because they're all listed there. They just don't tell you about it because if people knew how much compromising happens,
Have I
they
been
would
cloned?
have no security.
Have I been
Say that
cloned?
again, please. Say that again.
We have I
Did you
posted
type it in the chat?
chat. Yeah, let me put it in the chat right now.
Yeah,
But it's one of those things where you gotta promise some type of security because in reality, especially with the internet, I mean, I've been using it for such a long time, and I've got curiosity probably been the downfall of a lot of things that I've done on the internet. But when you go deeper into it, you start to see how much you don't know, how Google, all the other stuff is only 10%.
On Sunday from 8 to 8:30, are you willing to just tell people how, just a half an hour of just sharing what you know about the internet and how they're tracking and all that other stuff?
Is it online? Because I'm teaching a class on Sunday.
What time?
My 7:30.
To what time? At night?
To 8. Yeah.
You said 7:30 to 8?
Yeah. Sometimes it goes over to 8:30, but usually it's at 8.
Okay.
My guy said, I've been using the internet for so long, but then at the same time too, he also said, I'm 22 years old. Boy, you don't know nothing about that best viewed in Netscape Navigator. You don't know nothing about
No, so I didn't dwell too much into Netscape. I didn't.
You don't know
dwell too much
nothing
into
about.
Netscape. Now I have learned from people who use Netscape, of course.
Ask Jeeves.
Because my great grandmother,
My great grandmother.
I was so blessed to have a great grandmother who told
probably
me about,
60.
She passed away 6 years ago, but I was able to actually get, I guess, secondhand experience of slavery because her mother was a slave, so I got to see exactly, I would say sharecropper, but at that point it was the same thing. But and I can kind of get a look into where we came from, where we are today. It's not that far. That we've gotten to.
So let me ask you something as a tech person, right? So you're aware of how China maneuvers the internet to control their people and stuff.
So
I'm one of those people that think that America would do that if it wasn't for the whole democracy. But now that Trump's there,
would do that.
Get away with it, right?
That.
So, I mean, they're doing it with the CIA, but
they're doing it now. They're doing it with the protests right now as we speak. It's one of those things where it's not out there because they control what is being seen. If the mass of I'm sure everyone's heard about Fox. If the mass majority of people consume Fox, and Fox is owned by Disney. I don't think parts of Fox is owned by Disney. Fox is owned by, it's getting funded by these political parties, right? All behind closed doors. They're going to control. Hey, don't put that footage of us having a predator drone fly around the protest. Don't put that footage up there. It's like, oh, but I want to put it. You put it up there, you lose your job, because that power of money is what's they're flexing their power. And to answer your question on, say again.
That's the carrot and the stick, right? The whole analogy where they beat you with a stick and they incentivize you with a carrot, pretty much.
Oh yeah. Money's the carrot of the stick. Yes, yeah. And to answer your question about China, I've actually, when I was doing an AI study, I learned a little bit about why China has been doing this and how they've been doing this. China started an initiative back in 1980s to try to match the U.S. in technology, because the U.S. was pushing so far in technology and China's falling behind that they put almost all their efforts into matching the technology into the U.S. Now, you've heard of the countries which failed, like Russia, when we put the whole space, whatever it is, the space lasers in space, and Russia went to the potato famine.
Sputnik. Yeah.
You've heard of those failures, but they don't talk about the ones who succeeded, aka China. China has caught up to us, and the thing about it is, at this point, precisely, they're getting past us at this point now, and it's to hide that. So China can't match our economic and military might yet. But the thing about it is, you can win a war without firing a single bullet if you can control the minds of the people. Because wars are no longer wars are no longer fought with bullets anymore. You know, I mean, you would have some of the wars in Afghanistan, but if you don't manipulate the people to think that war, like Vietnam's a perfect example. If you don't manipulate the people to show that war should keep going, the people are going to revolt against you for doing that war. So what China's doing right now, Tiananmen Square anniversary was a couple of days ago. You know, a bunch of people came together and was protesting against something which is happening in China right now from happening. And what happened to them? Almost 10,000 people killed within a week, you know, because they spoke out against the government. And that's what I feel like a lot of people are afraid of in America. And you should be afraid, because our police force definitely has that capability. China used the military. Imagine if we pull the military and the police. There's just no Second Amendment or not. We can't. What is your AR-15 going to do against a M1 Abrams? I mean, it's for me. I always keep this back because, especially my friends don't want to hear it, because they're like, what the heck? That's too much. And most people don't like to see how grim it is, you know, because it's very dark, and it's. I mean, I was just reading yesterday. I'm gonna stop here because I can keep going on and on, but I'm gonna stop right here. I was just reading yesterday. The cyberpunk genre was started by an African American. And the cyberpunk genre basically goes over exactly what's happening today. Cyberpunk 2077. What is that? Total Recall. Things like that. The genre of it all started from this one African.
RoboCop.
We've all heard of almost the greatest things been invented by African American, and then it's been popularized that it was someone else created it. But what I'm trying to prove this point here was he was warning people back 30, 50 years ago, you know, yo, this is what's going down if we keep letting this chain of actions go on. And we let the chain of actions go on, and now we have our own personal spy devices right here in our homes, which they can call upon. Here's a logo right here. That's why I always keep my second phone, because this one is the one that's not, you know, when I want to do stuff that's, you know.
But call it Park and you trapping. I already know.
So, and it's like, because it's getting to the point now where, because I'm sure you guys heard of the act? I don't know. I think it failed, but the act where the governments can look into your text messages and your phones, which went to almost got signed. I think it's
PIPA or I just posted something last week in my timeline about Congress they don't need a warrant to go in your internet search history anymore.
Yes, that was a bill that was being pushed.
But stop. Do y'all believe that before that they wasn't already up in there?
They are doing it. But the thing about what this bill allows them to do is do it publicly.
Right.
That's basically what all it does.
That means they could use it against you.
Because they can say, look at this right here. We can do this. If they get caught doing it, then it's like, oh, I caught with my hands behind red-handed.
So listen, I'm the former National Minister of Information for the new Black Panther Party. It was quite fun. I am on the list. I was on the FBI's God doggone list. I was on the ADL's list, Southern Poverty Law Center list, just based off the affiliation. You know what I'm saying? Before that, rocking with particular political prisoners and so on and so forth. You know, I don't want to, mention it now, but all the political prisoners that you think about. So a guy like me, I know for a fact I've been under surveillance since at least like 91. You know what I mean? And that surveillance done morphed into the internet. You know what I mean? Forget about what they got now with my phone in it. They were on it when it was Jamal at, Mindspring, Netscape, and all from the beginning. So anybody right now who thinks that the government, like whatever the government is doing in terms of public records and all that, or surveillance or paranoia or databasing, even something as crazy as the coronavirus thing I just mentioned. If you're getting a nasal swab, if you're getting the new saliva joint or the blood joint, just know that your thing is going into a database of DNA. I'm not saying don't get the coronavirus test. It's crazy. It's crazy out here. But if you get it, just know that they're not throwing away that biological information and that you might be the link to your cousin Pootie Tang who done, look, and if he's a rapist or a serial killer or what, good. I hope his ass gets caught and fried. Whatever. But I'm just saying, most often, these new little technologies and whatnot be, nothing ever works for our benefit. It all works to our detriment.
You guys should look up fingerprinting. Fingerprinting, no matter if you have a VPN, if you use a different IP address, you could say you're from Japan, you're accessing a website. Fingerprinting is what services like Google and Amazon use to create digital profiles of you. And then those third-party sellings that they're doing to the government, and in between those third-party purchases happen where someone snacks a piece of your data. I mean, if the fact that we're all on Zoom right now, your data is already exposed. I mean, there's a reason. I've always stayed away from the Zoom calls because I didn't like doing this, but then eventually work required me to do it. So I said I was going to join this call today.
It's unsecured. It's unsecured.
It's
they
not just
you do from there.
That's true. But in addition, I mean, you guys can look up. Microsoft recently banned Zoom desktop application on their in all Microsoft buildings because they know it is an active data stealing, data taking.
Well, my point is, what is safe?
They can activate the microphone at any time or camera without without.
But what is safe? If I sent you I could write something right now and lick it up on an envelope and send it to you, and they got that too. We can't talk on the phone. We can't talk on a dirty little greasy little payphone if you can find one now. A burner phone. This is what I'm saying. There is no more privacy.
Joe, can you show them your Black Universe side, quiet, dark site that you've been working on?
Hey, you're not supposed to say that type of stuff. What are you talking about? Are you joking?
I'm laughing. It's a joke. I'm just making.
Okay. Oh, it's a joke. Okay. Okay. No, but there's
also, Jamal, I need your thoughts in now. What is this shit about 5G? Is it true or not true? What do you think?
No.
Listen, let me just tell you something.
Joe, what do you think about 5G real quick? Is it true what they're saying?
If they did this, if they did that, let me just tell you this. If they did that, right, the government would have a field day. Why? Because they look for companies like that to rape. If they did anything like that, that would be their meal ticket to bail them out of all the debt that they have. They would get them so bad. I'm just letting you know. Everybody said, well, they're paying the government to do it. That's what they want to happen. Nah, no one's trying to take that heat.
5G is safer than the god doggone power lines that's already out there. Go ask you a hillbilly with 3 teeth.
So 5G.
There's no way that the 5G can give you the coronavirus.
So my female accomplice, I want to say we're taking a break right now, but her mother actually was one of the original people to create the cell towers that you see across across the ways, which hold those towers that look like trees as well. That idea was stolen from her by a white company who got that idea from it and stole it from her. And she tells me that story, not every time, but she told me that story once when she figured out I was doing technology. And I was like, I'm in front of a legend who had their spark taken away from them underneath their feet.
Peanut butter.
But the 5G itself, it's definitely, they definitely want to make it into a hoax. I really don't understand why people are so concerned that, oh, they're going to be listening to us, yada, 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 this, that, and the other, when they've been doing it already. So I wouldn't understand why people would be like, oh, I'm so scared of this new way they can listen to us. And it's like, I mean, it's at this point, it's listening to you more effectively.
Joe, I think Chip was saying that about the 5G, is it hurting us? Because they're saying that it's
no.
Radiation,
correlation to
it
COVID.
kills the
Correlation to
vegetation. We're all gonna turn into X-Men.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It kills us. That's what they're saying. It slowly kills us, and they only put it out in certain areas of disenfranchised people, and they're doing it to kill us.
Well,
life slowly kills us.
Radiation.
It's just so funny how we can take a rumor. It's funny how we can take a rumor and just run with it, and just all of a sudden all the blacks, and it's just secret. Why can't we do that with some knowledge? Why can't we run with something like that that's the truth?
So
why does or some other bull crap come around?
I wish Elijah was still here. I wanted
because this is Chip's after party. This is what he does after meetings. He brings up this type of shit for his after party.
So I wish Elijah was still here, because Elijah made a point about the music he makes is sad, because that gets the emotional impact out of people. I've been studying film for a little bit. The ultimate way to horror, scary, is the ultimate feel it can get out of anyone, because you can make a scary villain. If you don't show it to them, the person's going to always imagine the scariest thing in their head, which means that every single person's going to have the scariest thing in their mind. So fear is the strongest emotion, and that's why any scary movie you see, that's why there's like 7 or 8 Freddy Kruegers or whatever. What is Jason? That's why there's like 7 Jasons, because fear is so easy to pull out of people, and especially to make money, because in film they figured out how to make money with it, but in media they figured out how to control people with it. So I mean that's when you're mentioning fear, that is a primary emotional weapon that's used against people and for people. I mean, it's.
But why don't we also put out the stuff about these people's president with the diddler stuff in the court paperwork? Why aren't we putting that out? Because they're not. Why aren't we putting
that into the president and diddling? Listen, because then we would have to get into Boston diddling, and that's too much. So we can't do that.
In the Catholic Church, everybody knows about that. So
everybody already knows about that. I don't care if we get into it. I'm not talking about have an overall conversation about it. I'm talking about pushing out the information, the actual court documents with this dude and the girl saying he knew I was 14 years old.
There are too many people
what I'm
out
saying
there.
is, hold on, stop. I'm sorry, right, 1 second. What I'm saying is, much like with the police brutality